Jack used shooting dash. Ursa was surprised by the sudden burst of speed. Jack's claw weapon punched into Ursa's body when he was still dazed. Unfortunately for Jack, Ursa's shadow form triggered the small chance that caused Jack's punch to just phase through without causing damage. Jack didn't fuss about the misfortune. He used his second dash to move away. This time, it was Vivian who was surprised when Jack suddenly appeared before her. She instinctively put her shield to defend just as Jack's punch came striking. It was a normal punch, but Vivian was still blown away by the impact. She again wondered how a Beastmaster could trump her strength to such a degree. Jack used the third dash to get back to Ursa, which caught him off guard again. He wasn't aware of a movement skill that allowed a player to zip around multiple times. Ursa wasn't so fortunate this time. Jack's punch landed squarely on his stomach. His back bent from the impact. He felt all the air inside of him was forced out. His health point also went down more than half. Jack's mana-fueled normal attack was not less damaging than a mid-level skill. Jack sent a second punch that should finish Ursa, but Ursa vanished. Jack then ran at high speed to the side where there was nothing. The crowd was confused about what Jack was doing. They then saw Vivian frantically trying to chase after Jack. They didn't see Ursa, who had turned invisible after using Vanish. Ursa's original plan was to sneak onto Jack while he was invisible and backstab Jack with Assassinate Soul. But when he saw Jack run toward him at high speed, he immediately ran away. He at first thought that his invisibility didn't trigger, but then he noticed he couldn't see his arms while running. He looked back and saw Jack was still behind him, enclosing. That gave him the scare of his life. He tried to increase his speed as well as made a few zigzag moves. But when he looked back, Jack was still there. Very close now. How the hell my speed loses to a Beastmaster? Ursa bellowed in his mind. Vivian knew his partner's predicament. She used Paladin's ranged skill, Holy Hammer, to hinder Jack. But Jack simply swiped his arm when the hammer came. Not even looking. The hammer was destroyed when it came into contact with Jack's hand. Ursa, who kept looking back as he ran, didn't notice someone else come into his path. By the time he noticed, an axe had sunk deep into his stomach, depleting his remaining health point. "Hey, I thought you were staying back," Jack said to Four Winds, who had finished Ursa. "I thought you were done training?" Four Winds asked back. "Never mind." Jack made a U-turn and was now running at Vivian. Vivian was at a loss. Her battle plan with Ursa had always been putting her as the enemy's main target. Ursa was too fast, so most enemies would have no chance but to come at her instead. Even if she died, she had the Paladin's rebirth. This would give Ursa the chance to trigger his eye for an eye skill, just like how they did in the first match. This was the first time that Ursa became the main target and was killed first. She was still at a loss when Jack arrived. Jack's claw weapon burst into flame as he swung it. The flame strike hit Vivian's shield and blew her away. She was still staggering when Jack resumed his pursuit. She used Heaven's Shield to stop Jack's advance, while at the same time executing Heaven's Fist. The large fist slammed Jack from above, but the fist simply passed through him. Jack used Flash Step to dodge the fist and shifted to Vivian's back. Vivian had seen Jack use this skill in the first round, so she suspected Jack teleported to behind her. She wanted to turn back, but Jack was too fast for her. Jack's fist repeatedly struck her back while she was still unbalanced. Without being able to escape, her health point bar was quickly emptied by Jack's repeated punches. She returned to life with her rebirth, but Jack and Four Winds were already waiting next to her. She died again a short moment after. She revived the second time, but outside the arena this time. Ursa was there beside her. "Who the hell is that person?" Ursa asked her. Vivian only shook her head. "Cypher Flight has all the best players. No wonder they are the #1 guild in this country. We have done our best. It's not our fate to become one of the rulers of VRMMO. Let's just watch the rest of this tourney." Makati announced Jack and Four Winds as the winner. The two walked out of the arena as the finalists from Block A. Makati called the next 4 combatants to decide the next finalists. The representatives from the Giant Killer Tribe and Spirit Crier Tribe walked into the arena. "Begin," Makati announced. As before, Kilio moved in front of Rojo to protect him while he started casting a spell. M'Culm brandished his karambits and made a gesture at Tumwa, who nodded. They were not facing low-level outworlders this time. They couldn't get careless by fighting 1 against 2. Tumwa's body dashed to the side at high speed. After zooming a certain distance, she dashed again in another direction. Shooting dash. Jack recognized his own skill when Tumwa displayed it. The shooting dash brought Tumwa behind Kilio and Rojo, effectively rendering Kilio's protection useless. M'Culm didn't give the opponents the chance to react. He charged forward with the energy shell around his body. Kilio, who saw M'Culm's approach, activated Sacred Flame on his maul. He then swung that heavy weapon. The flaming maul crashed into the energy shell that came with M'Culm's charge. The impact stopped M'Culm but also threw Kilio back. Tumwa, who had positioned herself behind the opponents, made a throwing motion. Multiple flying knives flew out. Everyone expected Rojo to cancel his casting to stop the knives. Instead, he lifted his free hand, which was wearing a glove with a power stone. A magic shield formed. The flying knives were stopped by the magic shield while the spell formation on the staff in his right hand continued to form. He has dual casting talent like Duke Alfredo, Jack thought. The spell formation was completed and 3 Trey ants appeared. These Trey ants ran toward Tumwa, who was strangely grinning. All of a sudden, a large creature appeared beside Tumwa. It was an armored basilisk. The basilisk was a level 75 rare elite. The basilisk's eyes shone and one of the Trey ants turned into stone. It then ran forward and crashed with the other 2 Trey ants. Jack smiled after seeing the scene. For Wins, who saw his expression, asked, "Why are you smiling? Perhaps we still have a slim chance of winning." Jack replied, "Why do you say that?" For Wins asked, "It's still a slim chance, though," Jack said. "Never mind that. As we said before, we will just do our best." For Wins didn't push further. Inside his mind, Jack was conversing with the hidden Penule. "I have been wondering, that Rojo guy can dual cast. His offhand casting uses a magic glove, the same as Duke Alfredo. Can I cast spells using that kind of magic gloves as well? I mean, if I can, I will be able to equip 2 swords properly without relying on the magic weapon spell. You can cast using magic gloves. However, any weapon you wield will be considered null. You won't get any effect from the weapon's ability, and when you hit using that weapon, the produced damage won't calculate the weapon's damage stat." "Oh, I guess I'm stuck with the magic weapon spell then," Jack said inside the arena. The battle continued fiercely. The armored basilisk was more than a match for the 2 Trey ants. M'Culm was dominating Kilio with fast movements. His karambits kept on slashing Kilio, whose heavy maul had difficulty landing a blow. Kilio's steel body mitigated the damage, though allowing him to endure. As for Rojo, after exposing his dual casting ability, his offhand hand continued erecting the magic shield for protection while the staff in his main hand cast a different spell. Rojo's magic shield was larger and sturdier than normal. All the flying knives that hit the shield were deflected. Rojo completed his spell and 3 tall earth walls came out of the ground around Tumwa, confining her the way they confined Jaiwei Sharpstone in the previous match. After imprisoning Tumwa, Rojo turned to look at his other 2 opponents. He was still thinking about whether to aid Kilio or his Trey ants when he heard a hissing sound from where his earth walls were. He turned back and saw a black spot appear on one of the earthen walls. A flaring red ring surrounded that black spot, and it was enlarging. Realizing what was happening, he hurriedly cast another spell. When the black spot grew to a certain size, it burst into flame. The flame burst continued as if there was a flamethrower behind that earth wall. The flame finally died down and a large hole was sported on that earth wall. Tumwa was seen behind that hole. Rojo completed his casting. A man-eating plant appeared right in front of the hole. If Tumwa wanted to come out of the hole, she would be snatched by that man-eating plant. Tumwa lifted his left hand. Everyone just noticed then that the glove on that hand also had a power stone. The power stone glowed and a spell formation appeared. "She can cast spells as well?" Jack uttered in surprise. She had sported the abilities from the hidden weapon specialist, has a pet, and was now a spellcaster as well. She was a very versatile combatant. Her spell was completed and the man-eating plant burst into flames. It was the immolation spell. Jack recognized it because Master had used the spell before on Penuel, except Tumwa's was more powerful. The man-eating plant was engulfed in fire. It convulsed and uttered a shrill sound. It was obviously in pain. It had a strong weakness against fire. While the plant was quivering, Tumwa jumped out of the hole. The plant still tried to bite Tumwa despite the burning, but its reaction was late because of its pain. Tumwa made a roll and escaped the plant's scope. The plant was not a mobile creature. Once the target was away, it became practically useless. Rojo cast another spell when Tumwa was escaping the plant. It was completed then, and the ground below Tumwa shook. The ground then broke apart. Large pieces of the ground tilted up randomly. Those pieces then slammed down on Tumwa. Tumwa had been moving once the ground shook. Despite the earthquake, her running was not affected. Even when the ground broke and tilted, she ran and jumped around the pieces as if she could predict which parts of the ground broke earlier and which parts broke later. With that intuition, she expertly dodged the ground pieces that broke and fell on her. "She has mana sense," Wind said. "That is not strange, she is a mythical grade," Jack replied. Tumwa was throwing her flying knives even as she was running around the fluctuating ground, and her aim was uncannily accurate despite the situation. This forced Rojo to again erect a magic shield for defense while his other hand cast another spell. While throwing her knives, Tumwa was also casting a quick spell. Multiple flame bolts shot out once her spell was completed. With a large number of flying knives and flame bolts coming at him, Rojo was forced to continue being on his edge because he had to adjust his magic shield around to deflect those projectiles. This caused the spell casting on his other hand to slow down. With the chaos, Rojo didn't notice that a boomerang flew by his side. This boomerang made a U-turn and struck his back. His concentration was still solid enough that the spell formation he was forming didn't break. However, he lost his balance due to the back attack and his magic shield was lowered. Tumwa capitalized on this and unleashed Concealed Needle, another hidden weapon specialist skill. 30 almost invisible needles flew at Rojo from different angles. Rojo was unable to block them all. He was struck and inflicted with paralyze effect. The spell formation on his staff broke then. Tumwa didn't relent. She had escaped the turbulent ground area. She continued throwing flying knives which caused the bleed effect. Among the flying knives, some small pellets were spotted. When these pellets hit Rojo, they exploded, inflicting him with disoriented status. Afflicted by so many status effects, Rojo had trouble reacting. Kilio saw Rojo's predicament. He made a large swing that caused a strong shockwave that forced Mkulm back. He then used charge, rushing over to Tumwa who continued to chase Rojo while throwing her flying knives. Once arriving, Kilio swung his large flaming maul at Tumwa. Tumwa skillfully dodged to the side while tapping the maul's shaft to redirect its swing, before making a spin kick that accurately struck Kilio's head, sending him sprawling. "My goodness! She also knows martial arts," Jack uttered. Mkulm didn't chase after Kilio after he ran off to face Tumwa. Instead, he came to Rojo who had just been freed by the disorient status. Without pause, his fists that held the karambits struck Rojo repeatedly. His repeating punches were very fast and were executed as if they were one rapid movement. Penuel informed Jack that those punches were Battle Monk's non-standard skill, Chain Strikes. This skill's damage increased with each connected strike. Jack counted Mkulm delivering 20 consecutive punches, which Penuel said was the number of strikes delivered by a max-level chain strikes. With Mkulm harassing Rojo at melee range, Rojo was denied the chance for casting a spell. Kilio, who had been knocked away by Tumwa, was immobilized when Tumwa cast Hell Whip, a warlock spell. The fiery whip locked him in place, preventing him from assisting Rojo. Kilio activated a strength-increasing skill and then used brute strength to release himself from the Hell Whip. However, by the time he was free, another obstacle appeared. Tumwa's pet, the armored basilisk, had finished taking care of the two Treyants. It now stood between him and Rojo. With her pet facing Kilio and Mkulm harassing Rojo, Tumwa took a supporting role. She moved back and threw her flying knives at her two opponents, continuously chipping their lives while they were occupied. After being forced into such a passive situation, Rojo and Kilio couldn't find the chance to get out of their predicament. Mkulm and the armored basilisk made it so that the two stayed separate, with Tumwa steadily reducing their health point with ranged attacks. Rojo fell first. With that, the outcome was sealed. Kilio was already having trouble dealing with the armored basilisk. With Mkulm flanking him, he soon fell as well. The finalists of Block B were decided. "Still think we have a chance of winning?" "For wins?" asked Jack. Jack didn't answer. In the arena, after announcing the giant killer tribe as the winner, Makati made a gesture. Rune diagrams around the arena flared. The armored basilisk disappeared. Mkulm and Tumwa's health point and skills were reset. Makati then called Jack and 4 wins to come into the arena for the final round. "Well, win or lose, I won't go down without a fight," For wins declared as he stood up. "Of course, we will win," Jack exclaimed. He then gave 4 wins a raised fist. "What?" For wins questioned his gesture. "Fist bump. It's a good luck charm before a battle," Jack replied. "What a childish belief," For wins said. But he still bumped his fist into Jack's. The two then walked into the arena. Mkulm and Tumwa stayed in the arena waiting for them. The crowd was wild as the final round was about to begin. "When the battle begins, I will handle Mkulm," For wins said as they walked. "Tumwa is too fast for me to chase. Only you can catch her. I will hold Mkulm for as long as possible while you take care of Tumwa." "Bloody hell, Euro, do you forget already that woman is a mythical grade? Without using my other class's skills, I will be lucky to survive against her. Don't sell yourself short. Even without relying on game skills, you are a formidable opponent. Your martial arts are a league away from the first time I fought you in the World Tournament. She also knows martial arts, remember?" Jack said. "The natives' martial arts can't be compared to ours. They have the form but not the essence," For wins replied. "You should be able to see from her match just now. Even so, it will still be a very slim chance, Euro, but not impossible. I believe in you," For wins said. "Damn it. You just push all the pressure on me," Jack complained. "Which shows how much I believe in you," For wins grinned. After the 4 got into positions, they saw the Grand Chief, who was originally sitting in his arranged seat, had come to the front of the VIP section. He made a gesture to the crowd, which then quieted down. "My good orcs of VRMMO, you are witnessing the rise of the new member of our council. By the end of this next match, we will have a new tribe that represents your voice." The Grand Chief then looked down at the 4 combatants below. "Giant Killer, Cypher Flight, both of you defeated the other opponents to be the last ones standing in this arena. You aim for the highest honor in our great nation. For that, you need to give your all. Now you will both continue this trial of combat, the highest trial in our nation's tradition. 4 of you stood in this arena, representing 2 sides. By the time this final round ended, only one side will remain. This last trial will now commence." Horns were sounded. The crowd cheered wildly. The drum players were hitting their drums like mad orcs. Makati gave the crowd some moment to make noises. After the bustle lessened a bit, he looked at the 4 combatants before him. There was no need for him to ask if they were ready. "Fight a Euro," he announced. For wins used Cry of Rage the moment Makati gave the word. Both he and Jack then rushed forward. Kulm also lunged forward. The only one who jumped backward was Tumwa. For wins used Charge and headed straight from Kulm. Kulm, who saw he was targeted, didn't back away. He also charged forward with an energy shell enveloping his body. For wins' body enlarged as it was propelled forward by Charge. He had activated his bloodline skill, Titan Strength. At the same time, crimson tattoos covered his body. The 2 muscled orcs crashed into one another. This time, it was 4 wins who got thrown away. It was not just a few steps back, his body was flying back uncontrollably. He fell on his back and skidded on the ground. He had to do a backflip before he landed back on 2 feet and stopped the knockback force. He could hardly believe it. Even with both his Titan strength and enhanced berserk, his strength still lost by such a large degree. He looked over at his opponent and was stunned to see that Mkulm's body was also covered in the same crimson tattoos as his. While Four Winds was tussling with Mkulm, Jack dashed at high speed chasing after Tumwa. Tumwa, who saw Jack coming at her, threw her flying knives while retreating. She attempted to kite Jack. Jack's two claw weapons swiped around, knocking the knives that came. As a mythical grade, Tumwa's flying knives delivered very high damage. But luckily, Jack had leveled up his rare elite claw weapons to a very high level as well. Combined with his high strength stat from 3 classes, Tumwa's knife's damage didn't eclipse Jack's standard attack by 3 times. Hence, Jack didn't receive any damage as long as his claw weapons accurately hit the incoming knives. Tumwa's knives flew at high speed, but Jack was also not slow. Jack's expertise in sword art had reached a stage where his swing accuracy was exceptional. So, deflecting all those knives was not a problem. However, all those knives caused Jack to unable to run at full speed. This meant he was unable to catch up to Tumwa, who continued to move away. Tumwa herself was incredibly astonished. This was the first time a Beastmaster was able to chase her to such an extent. If she slowed down, that Beastmaster would catch up. Jack knew that he couldn't let Tumwa continue kiting him like this, so he called his wolves out. The 10 wolves immediately spread out once called. They ran after Tumwa from different directions. Tumwa had no choice but to stop to deal with these charging wolves. Her body spun and 30 concealed needles flew in all directions, hitting all the wolves. Jack didn't let this chance go. He activated Strength of the Wild and dashed forward. Tumwa was also casting a spell when she was throwing the needles while spinning. When her spin stopped, her spell formation was completed. Fire bolts shot at Jack. Jack similarly slashed these fire bolts as he did her flying knives, but he then noticed some small pebbles following these fire bolts. They were the exploding bullets. He knew he couldn't dodge all these bullets. He activated Dragon Eye to slow time and positioned himself where he only needed to deal with 1 bullet. He slashed the bullet and it exploded. This time he suffered excess damage. The damage was not too much to worry about, but the explosion force caused his forward movement to stop. As he stopped, he sensed something from behind. Tumwa had thrown the boomerang while Jack was distracted by the fire bolts and exploding bullets. Relying on his mana sense to pinpoint the boomerang's exact position, Jack performed a scorpion kick and kicked the boomerang away. Tumwa was very impressed her opponent cancelled her concealed ambush in such a way. Some of Jack's wolves were paralyzed by the concealed needles, but some weren't. The ones that didn't lunged at Tumwa, whose body again spun. She made a full roundhouse kick and smacked all the wolves to the side. At the same time, she called her pet out, the armored basilisk. "This is it!" Jack exclaimed in his mind. As soon as the armored basilisk was out, he used Beast Command. Once the armored basilisk was summoned, it knocked all the nearby wolves in its vicinity using its tail. Then it abruptly stopped moving. Tumwa also paused after seeing her pet's strange movement. She felt something was off between her connection with the pet. All of a sudden, the armored basilisk turned to her and its eyes glowed. "What a euro!" She was stunned. The petrified gaze hit her. Her body started to turn stiff. Before her whole body was covered by a layer of stone, she cast a quick spell using her left hand. A purifying light fell on her and the petrification was removed. "Damn it to hell, a euro! She has a cure spell as well," Jack cursed. While Tumwa was hit by the petrify gaze, Jack approached. He finally caught up to her. At the same time, Jack's wolves sprang back, covering Tumwa's escape path. The armored basilisk also advanced, using its claws, teeth, and tail to attack. The wolves' health point was in bad condition since they had been continuously hit by Tumwa. Jack used Beast Howl, healing the wolves' health point and increasing their attributes. The armored basilisk's attributes also increased since it was now considered an ally. Tumwa didn't stop throwing her flying knives while using kicks to deal with the approaching opponents. She tried using shooting dash to escape encirclement, but Jack positioned his wolves with his grandfather's 9 stars formation. The formation made it difficult for Tumwa to find a proper path. It also allowed Jack and the others to adjust and surround Tumwa again after her dash, keeping her trapped. It was as Four Winds said. Although Tumwa was one of the natives who had martial arts, her expertise wasn't comparable to real martial art experts. Jack utilized openings in her movement to land several hits. The armored basilisk also landed a few hits by tanking Tumwa's knives using brute force. Even so, Tumwa's speed and agility were impressive since she was a mythical grade. If not for Jack's wolves running interference and the armored basilisk's joined assault, Jack would most likely be unable to land an attack. Though she suffered damage, Tumwa didn't show a panicked expression. She had been casting a spell ever since she was surrounded. No matter how hard Jack tried hitting her to disrupt her concentration, the spell formation persisted. Jack was concerned since the spell formation contained many runes. It was finally completed after 6 runes were formed. When the spell was cast, many large fireballs were hurled in all directions. Jack didn't insist on attacking. He jumped away as some of the fireballs turned and came at him. It was the Flame Wrath spell. The nearby wolves were hit by the hurling fireballs, which exploded and caused large fire damage. The same thing happened to the armored basilisk. While the basilisk survived due to possessing high defense and a large amount of health point, Jack's wolves didn't. All 10 died after the exploding fireballs consumed their health point, which was again lowered from Tumwa's repeated attacks. Jack used shooting dash when the fireballs almost hit him. They exploded, but he was already out of the explosion range due to shooting dash's swift movement. The skill's 3 dashes had him circled back to Tumwa again. Jack was not going to let the orc put a distance from him again. Jack could see Tumwa's face when he was back next to her. She was visibly annoyed. She thought she had chased this outworlder away. When Jack was about to resume his clash with Tumwa, he heard a pained cry. He couldn't help but looked over and saw Four Winds in a close-quarter grapple with M'Culm. M'Culm was in an upper position pushing Four Winds down. His 2 karambits dug into Four Winds' shoulders. While Jack faced Tumwa, Four Winds fought against M'Culm. He mostly played defense using his martial arts. Starlight Field surrounded him, deflecting M'Culm's assaults. Even when M'Culm used multi-sided strikes where he created multiple clones that attacked from different sides, Four Winds defended using the same martial art. Four Winds had mastered this art to near perfection. Relying on his mana sense, he could identify from which angles M'Culm's attacks came. He then focused the fast slashing of his axes at that part, creating a denser starlight. This allowed him to stop M'Culm's attack even when he lost in strength stat. However, continuously using this martial art drained his body, especially so after his Titan strength ran out of duration. His body was back to normal size. He felt extremely fatigued. He knew he couldn't keep this up. He looked over at Jack and knew that Jack was still far from achieving a victory. That momentary distraction cost him. M'Culm used Power Strike on a part that was poorly defended. This stopped Four Winds' Starlight Field and staggered him. M'Culm's 2 hands came together, a telltale sign of Ki Blast. Four Winds was aware of that move. He immediately used Jump Assault. Not for offense though. He used it to jump away just as an enormous energy blast was discharged from M'Culm's hands. When Four Winds landed, he looked back to where M'Culm was but failed to spot that native. M'Culm had used Vanish. Four Winds at first worried that M'Culm was going to attack Jack while being invisible. He was about to head over to where Jack was fighting Tumwa, only for his mana sense to inform him of an impending danger coming from above. He instinctively crossed both his axe above him, just as he felt an impact on those axes. M'Culm materialized then. M'Culm's strength outclassed Four Winds. Four Winds was forced till his knees bent. Four Winds' axes were also pushed down until the sharp ends of M'Culm's 2 karambits stabbed into Four Winds' shoulders from above. Damage numbers appeared from those 2 stabs. The pain also caused Four Winds to involuntarily screamed. Players' health point pool couldn't be compared to high-grade natives. Those 2 stabs, which were considered normal attacks, drained almost 1/3 of Four Winds' health point. Four Winds could sense from M'Culm's mana that he was prepared to deal a final blow, but his mana suddenly went turbulent. Something had hit M'Culm right at the back of his neck. It was Jack. He used the uncommon grade throwing knife which he had bought but never used before because he had his spells for ranged attacks. But this time he couldn't use any of that. So he threw that knife using his archer's skill, precise shot. The knife dealt pitiful damage. But since it was unexpected and also hit a weak spot, it disrupted M'Culm's offense. For Winds didn't let the chance go. He drove his head forward. His forehead crashed hard on M'Culm's nose. The headbutt dealt damage because Four Winds used mana manipulation. It also dazed M'Culm that he let go of his downward pressure on Four Winds. Breaking away from the grapple, Four Winds used the second skill from his Titan bloodline, Titan Blow. Four Winds received the skill when his bloodline reached level 4. His Titan bloodline, which consumed essences from humanoid monsters, was level 5 at the moment. Titan Blow conjured a Titan-sized fist that delivered tremendous physical damage. The massive fist slammed into M'Culm, who was still dazed. It sent him flying away, giving Four Winds the much-needed reprieve. M'Culm, angry at being denied the chance to finish off Four Winds, rose and was about to rush back. However, he sensed something that made him turn. He was just in time before the armored basilisk open maws chomped his head. He narrowly dodged the bite and then counterattacked with chain strikes. Repeated punches landed on the armored basilisk, dealing increased damage with each blow and pushing it back. For Winds, finish him, Jack called while exchanging moves with Tumwa. Jack had sent the armored basilisk over to aid Four Winds. With all his wolves gone, he had no way to limit Tumwa's movements. The basilisk was too slow for Tumwa. Even if he could keep his distance close to the orc, landing a hit was another matter. So Jack chose to flip their original plan. He was now keeping Tumwa busy while Four Winds and the basilisk finished M'Culm. M'Culm's chain strikes drove the basilisk back. However, the damage wasn't as high as M'Culm hoped. The armored skin of the basilisk had a very high defense. Even after receiving the consecutive attacks, the basilisk immediately lunged back to attack. M'Culm expertly dodged, but he sensed another pressure behind him. He looked back and saw Four Winds lifting his 2 axes high. One thing surprised him when he saw Four Winds' body. All over Four Winds' body, which was not covered by armor, his blood veins bulged and became very visible. They were also purple in color. What Four Winds used was his special class, Barbarian King's level 60 skill, Royal Barbarian Blood. The skill gave the same buffs as the enhanced Berserk. But instead of reducing defense like Berserk skill, it added defense. It even lasted longer than Berserk. It had a duration of 5 minutes. Each level up increased its duration, for Winds had leveled it up several times. It lasted around 8 minutes at its current level. However, For Winds didn't use this skill before because it had a downside. After this skill ended, all his attributes would be reduced by 50% for 1 minute. Hence, he only used it as a last resort. The 2 axes in Four Winds' hands glowed. He slashed downward. Rapid energy waves were unleashed from that slash. M'Culm was too close and the energy wave was too fast. M'Culm failed to dodge. The slash was Barbarian King's first skill, Savage Cleave. It was similar to Jack's Brave Slash that it had a high chance to wound the opponent. It didn't boost the critical hit and damage, but it dealt higher damage than Brave Slash. It dealt 1,500% physical damage. It also caused bleed and weakness. M'Culm suffered high damage and was afflicted by the 2 status effects. Additionally, his chest armor was torn by the Savage Cleave. The cleave didn't wound him. Instead, it broke his chest armor. Its durability was reduced to 0 and he lost all the defense and ability bonuses from the equipment. Four Winds also used Ancestral Possession, Berserker level 50 skill. It was time to go all out. The spirit that he conjured was not the standard spirit. The spirit had the appearance of a red-skinned ogre with 2 demonic horns that wield large twin axes. With the spirit floating above him and aiding him, Four Winds kept the pressure up. With the armored basilisk attacking from the flank and M'Culm inhibited by the status effects, Four Winds went all offense. Look out! Four Winds suddenly heard Jack's call. His mana sense warned him as well. He swayed as a flying knife flew past him. At the same time, 3 large nails flew toward the armored basilisk. The rear ends of these 3 nails burst into fire and gave the nails a speed boost. The nails also whirled at high speed. These 3 nails then drilled into the armored basilisk. The basilisk roared from the pain. High damage also appeared on it. The nails were thrown by Tumwa. They were hidden weapon specialists level 50 skill, drilling dart. Each nail dealt 400% damage, ignored 70% defense, and had a 10% chance to inflict fatigue and weakness. I thought you were keeping her busy? For Winds scolded. She is too fast, damn it. Jack replied while continued attacking Tumwa. But as he had expected, he barely touched her. At that time, Jack heard a notification in his mind. Thuras had come out of its cocoon state and could be summoned again. Jack almost stopped upon hearing the notification, but luckily, he didn't let himself get distracted. Otherwise, Tumwa's flying knife would have stabbed his head just now. Penuel, what is the chance that Thuras got the wing thingy like Terex? Jack asked the hidden Penuel via his mind. Well, it's not a sure thing, so I don't know. His grade is sure to become a mythical grade, though, Penuel answered. If it stays the same, my identity is blown, Jack said. Not necessarily. Someone else could have gotten a Thuras beast pet. It's not an exclusive pet, even if it was rumored to have gone extinct. It's armor, remember? I say that is pretty exclusive, Jack countered. If it grows wings like Terex, its armor should rearrange to accommodate the transformation, right? Yeah. Jack never stopped dogging Tumwa while talking with Penuel in his mind. He failed to deal any meaningful damage to the mythical grade orc. He even had to constantly dodge and parry to make sure Tumwa didn't land a clean hit on him. Her damage was too high and each of her projectiles caused different status ailments. Being a fast, long-ranged combatant, Tumwa was also able to occasionally throw her knives or spells at 4 Winds and the armored basilisk, preventing the two from fully cooperating against Mkulm. With each passing second, for Wind's royal barbarian blood and Jack's hold on the armored basilisk were running out of duration. Once either of those two happened, their chance of winning would further drop. Seeing this situation, Jack weighed his option. If he called Thuras, there was a chance that his identity was revealed. The worst thing to happen was the orcs here immediately tried to apprehend him without giving him a chance to explain. He could try using his supreme dragon form and flee. The other option was he gave up on this tourney and looked for another chance to meet the Grand Chief. But after some thought, he figured that there was no safe way to make the meeting happen. His messenger was rejected even when the messenger brought a message stating that Themisphere would return VRMMO's national treasure. Since it was so, he could only go the unconventional means. Of course, he could also come into VRMMO with a full army holding the banner totem for everyone to see. But many things could go wrong if he came with such a force. Their two countries were just in full conflict not long ago. Some eager orcs might start attacking without considering the consequences. If that happened, another war would ensue before he had the chance to talk with the Grand Chief. He preferred there was no more bloodshed before the peace talk. He guessed this was currently his best chance. Even if he was found out, perhaps the orcs were still reasonable enough to let him talk instead of just attacking him. Thinking about all this, he decided to take the gamble. He summoned Thuras. When he expected Thuras to appear beside him as usual, the ground nearby cracked instead. The cracking happened right under where Tumwa was. All of a sudden, the ground erupted as something large burst out. Tumwa was getting caught by surprise. Thuras broke out of the ground and struck Tumwa with its 2 antler-like horns. It also threw her high into the air. Jack saw it then, the 2 wings that resembled giant webbed claws on Thera's back. It was also a level 62 mythical now. Jack was very excited to see his pet's transformation. While Tumwa was still in the air, Thuras used its autocratic roar and imperious pressure back-to-back. Tumwa was afflicted by different kinds of status ailments from the roar, while the gravity field from the imperious pressure caused her difficulty in moving. A Thuras beast? Kabaka Proudtusk, VRMMO's Grand Chief, muttered after seeing the summoned pet. I thought only the current Themisphere King has a Thuras beast? One of the Lord Chiefs, who sat on one of the 10 main chairs, said. This Lord Chief was named Kima Mount King. She was the older sister of the VRMMO's strongest war chief, Makubwa Mount King. Thuras beast was very rare, but it's not unique. Other beastmasters could have tamed one. Another lord chief within the council, Woga Braided Beard, offered his opinion. Humph. Even so, the Thuras beast is the mascot of our nation's enemy. How dare an orc choose one to be his pet? Another council member, Jinga Loudmaw, said. He is an outworlder, Kima said. He didn't know about ours or our enemy's history. He was not at fault. The Thuras beast is indeed a powerful pet to have. You can't blame him for taming one. This Thuras beast was even one with perfect form, Woga said. I heard the one owned by Themisphere King is wingless. This meant our nation now has a better Thuras beast than them. We can use this to insult Themisphere, lowering their morale. Kabaka was silent as the others discussed the Thuras beast. The Thuras beast in the arena wore armor. The war report also mentioned that Themisphere King's Thuras beast wore armor. Medium pet armor was difficult to come by, but several high-level blacksmiths provided the service. So it was not strange seeing the pet's armor. Kabaka turned to Umiza Giant Killer, who sat a distance away. He was one of the officers who were on the same battlefield as the Outworlder who later became Themisphere's Outworlder King. He was the one who had seen the Outworlder King's pet directly. Umiza was seen having creased brows. Is he creasing because of the situation of his tribe's representatives in the arena? Or is he creasing for another reason? Kabaka wondered. Inside the arena, the situation greatly reversed once Thuras was out. Afflicted by status ailments and having a heavy body to move, Tumwa was unable to resist when Thuras followed up its assault using overbearing stomps. She continued suffering damage as she was unbalanced by the tremor caused by the stomps. Jack left Tumwa to Thuras. Thuras was the same grade and even one level higher than Tumwa. Thuras' speed was also boosted by its armor, so it won't have trouble catching up to Tumwa if she tried to flee. Jack went to aid for Winds as his situation seemed direr. When Thuras was summoned, Mkulm transformed. It seemed that Mkulm was not serious even when he was ganged up by 4 Winds and the armored basilisk. Only after Thuras showed up, he realized he had to quickly finish his 2 opponents so he could aid Tumwa. Mkulm's beast form transformed him into a large red-furred ape. Mkulm in its red ape form was faster and stronger. Each of its punches sent the armored basilisk back. For Winds was also constantly on edge to avoid getting punched by those large fists. Mkulm activated his beast form skill and his red hairs tuned longer. The hairs also stood on ends. The visual effect was slightly similar when Leave Me Alone in his White Tiger Emperor form activated White Tiger Rage. Mkulm became even stronger after using the skill. Despite its high defense, the armored basilisk's health point continued to drop steadily. It was now close to the critical state. Jack didn't mind the pet was killed. It was not his, but their fight would get a lot harder if it was taken out. Jack arrived and joined the fight. He used his sword art to attack and his movement art to dodge. He commanded the armored basilisk to force itself onto Mkulm and took Mkulm's main attention, while 4 Winds and he stole hits from the sides. Jack studied the situation while they fought. For Winds' royal barbarian blood and ancestral possession were coming to an end soon, and so was his beast command. He didn't think they could defeat Mkulm before those happened. Thuras was winning against Tumwa. Jack had used Ultimate Beast, turning Thuras into a bipedal creature and increasing all its power. He asked Thuras to not activate its armor's supersonic mode, though. The visual of that armor's ability was too eye-catching. It would be too pushing it. He was already glad that until now, no one had yet stopped the tourney to arrest him. Even though Thuras was winning, Jack doubted Tumwa could be defeated in a short time. This meant once the basilisk was gone and 4 Winds depowered, it would be him alone against Mkulm in beast form. That was not a good prospect. If both he and 4 Winds were defeated, then it didn't matter even if Thuras was winning. After considering everything, he decided he should take another gamble. He commanded the armored beast to charge at Mkulm and forcefully kept him busy while he tapped 4 Winds and pulled him aside. He then quickly whispered something to 4 Winds' ear. 4 Winds frowned, but he had no time to argue. He just said, Make it quick! He then rushed back at Mkalm. The armored basilisk had lost another chunk of life due to its forceful charge. Jack took a few steps back. He took the opposite direction from where Tumwa and Thuras were fighting. He then started focusing. Runic symbols started appearing around him. Rune technique! The more knowledgeable spectators uttered after seeing the runes around Jack. He even knows rune technique? That Beastmaster is just full of surprises, Kima Mount King remarked. Rune technique is only useful if it hits. Let's see how he pulls that off first. Jinga Loudmaw scoffed. You seem to dislike that Beastmaster. One might mistake that it's your tribe who are fighting down there. Woga Braided Beard chuckled. Humph. I simply don't trust Outworlders, Jinga said. They shouldn't have been allowed spots in this tourney from the start. Outworlders are already part of our world whether we like it or not, Kabaka mediated. We shouldn't shut ourselves from this change. Two gods already announced their support for Outworlder monarchs. If our nation's Outworlders proved their worth, we won't deny them the glory. For Winds tried his best to keep Mkalm occupied while the armored basilisk continued forcing itself onto Mkalm. This caused the basilisk to lose its health point even faster. It was now close to dying. However, Mkalm had second thoughts when he was about to deal the basilisk a killing blow. This was Tumwa's pet, after all. But then he realized this was inside the Colosseum's arena. The pet won't die for real. This momentary hesitation gave Four Winds an opening. His savage cleave was off cooldown. For Winds, two axes again shone with energy. Mkalm sensed the power. He was not letting himself get hit by that move again. He used his beast form skill, Raging Ape Fist. His fist was enveloped by a red glow. This glow formed an image of a larger fist which Mkalm punched forward. The cleave and the punch collided with one another, resulting in a destructive shockwave. It was Four Winds who was blown back. At that time, Mkalm caught sight of Jack, whose body was surrounded by countless runes. Rune technique! Mkalm exclaimed. He was about to rush over to prevent Jack from completing the technique, but there were so many runes on Jack's body already. The rune technique was near completion. Hence, he stayed back. He focused his attention on Jack's movement. He didn't know what kind of rune technique Jack was using. He prepared himself to dodge. Mkalm wasn't wrong. Jack was indeed near completion. Jack called, "For Winds now!" For Winds was already knocked flying in Jack's direction. He made use of the force and propelled himself to Jack. Right on time, For Winds said. He was indicating his bloodline skill, Titan Strength, which just came off cooldown. His body enlarged to a giant. With one hand he grabbed Jack's body. Without pause, he threw Jack in Mkalm's direction using all his strength. Jack's rune technique could be learned by a Beastmaster, and he had never shown this technique in the public. So, there was no problem using this technique without exposing his identity. Even so, he originally didn't think about using it because this technique was a pure melee technique. This technique was only useful if he combined it with the teleportation spell. But they needed to defeat Mkalm fast, and this rune technique was the only one with enough power to do it. Hence the improvisation. For Wind's throw turned Jack into an orc bullet. Jack only had a 1-second gap between completing the last rune and landing a hit. He purposefully slowed down the forming of the last rune and completed it right before Four Winds grabbed him because he wanted to fully utilize that 1-second gap. If it was not completed when Four Winds threw him, the technique was considered cancelled because his position had moved. With both the Titan Strength and Royal Barbarian Blood in effect, the throw took less than 1 second in sending Jack to Mkalm. Mkalm was ready. He was about to move away when he felt something bite his leg. "You!" Mkalm exclaimed in rage. He had been too focused on Jack after seeing the rune technique that he forgot about the near-death basilisk. He punched down and depleted the basilisk's remaining health point. But the disruption was done. The basilisk had robbed Mkalm of the precious half-second. Jack's body, which was propelled at high speed, slammed into Mkalm, right when the last rune was completed. Jack focused his willpower to boost the damage as the runic symbols slammed into Mkalm's body. Raging white flame erupted and engulfed the giant killer tribe's leader. Damage numbers appeared continuously. Calm screamed from the burning pain. The white flame not only burned his body, but also his soul. If even the mythical-grade archdemon was greatly damaged by this technique, what more of a rare elite orc? Even with the increased health point from the beast form, Calm's health point still decreased at a fast rate. His health point bar was also not in the best condition when the rune technique hit. Calm moved about and flailed his arms frantically, but the flame just won't die. Jack was about to send Calm some hits to hasten the orc's demise, but a flying knife came flying and forced him to jump back. Cool me a euro. Tumwa came running while continued throwing flying knives and casting fire bolts. Jack was pushed back further and further. For Winds also retreated. His royal barbarian blood just ended and all his stats were currently reduced. Where is Thuras? Jack asked. His link with his pet made him look up. Thuras was up there flapping its weird wings. It can fly, Jack thought excitedly. Thuras opened its mouth and yellow mana started to gather. Oh crap! Move away! Move away! Jack shouted at Four Winds. The yellow mana solidified into a yellow ball. Thuras then fired this earth core bomb down, right on top of Tumwa and Calm. Calm's mind was in a frenzy. He couldn't think straight, much less ran away from the blast area. Tumwa tried to keep Jack and Four Winds from approaching Calm to deal him more damage. But when she looked up at the incoming earth core bomb, she knew then that her effort was pointless. The earth core bomb landed near them and detonated into a huge blast. The blast radius it produced was even larger than when Thuras was still a rare elite. It now rivaled Terex's earth core bomb when Jack used the judgment of past kings. Jack and Four Winds had run to the edge of the arena. The blast almost hit them. If it did, then it would have been a disaster. A mythical grade like Tumwa could still survive the damage, but he and Four Winds were surely toasted. But Thuras was an intelligent beast. It knew its attack radius and had adjusted the bomb detonation point after seeing Jack run to the arena's edge. After the explosion subsided, only Tumwa remained at the center. She was in a very pitiful state. She already suffered plenty of damages during her prior tussle with Thuras. This earth core bomb almost took her out. Her survival only lasted a short moment though. She was soon stomped by Thuras, who dropped from the sky with all its weight. Her body vanished and reappeared outside the arena, right next to Calm, who had appeared there earlier. The crowd was silent. Since the start of the fight, everyone had expected the giant killer to come out victorious, including the spectating players. Even Cypher Flight's members who were watching thought that it was a far cry to expect a win against these two powerful natives. Clapping from the VIP section. This time it was the Grand Chief who clapped while standing up. Seeing the Grand Chief's approval, Makati immediately announced, "Winner of the tourney, Cypher Flight Euro." The players in the audience went wild. It took several seconds before the natives joined in the commotion. Jack heaved a relieved sigh. He looked at Thuras gratefully before unsummoning it. That was close. If my pet didn't become available, I don't think we could have won this match. Hee hee. Four Winds chuckled and simply gave Jack a tap on the shoulder. He was reveling in the crowd's jubilation. Cypher Flight's members jumped down to the arena and celebrated. Some natives from the VIP sections came down also, but not by jumping, to offer their congratulations. Jack took a look at the 10 chairs that housed the council members. The Grand Chief and the other Lord Chiefs were not there anymore. They had gone somewhere while everyone was celebrating. "Congratulations," Umiza said. He was one of the natives who came to congratulate them. "I thought that finally, my tribe will have the chance to shine as one of the council members. It appears fate says otherwise." Calm and Tumwa were behind him. "You two are formidable fighters. I have no regret losing to the two of you," Calm said. "We are just lucky. You are still too strong for us," Four Winds replied. Tumwa didn't say anything. She just nodded at Four Winds and Jack. Amiza came to Jack and said, "You have an incredible pet." "Thank you," Jack replied. "How about the two of us go have some tea? The sunset is especially pretty if watched from this town." Jack momentarily paused before saying, "That will be delightful. Unfortunately, I still have a lot of guild matters to attend to." "Of course," Let's do it another time, Umiza said before going away. What guild matters? For Winds asked. Jack was not even a real guild member. Nothing, Jack replied. He had a cold sweat, though. He looked at Umiza, who was walking away. Did that orc suspect him? After half an hour of socializing around, they were approached by Makati. He said, "The two of you are summoned by the Grand Chief. Please follow me." For Winds looked at Jack. At the same time, they exchanged messages. To my knowledge, it is supposed to be only the tribe leader who meets with the council and briefs on the inauguration ceremony. I had prepared an excuse to take you to this meeting. It seemed that I had prepared it in vain. Is this good or bad? Jack asked. I don't know. You tell me. For Winds replied. You sure you want to follow? After a momentary hesitation, Jack said, Let's go. If he didn't go with 4 Winds, then all his effort in the tourney would have been a waste. For Winds nodded and said to Makati, Please, lead the way. Makati led the two to another part of the Colosseum. They went into an enclosed hall. Some orcs were already waiting inside. Jack saw 9 of the orcs as the 9 who sat on the main chairs in the VIP section. They were the Grand Chief and the Lord Chiefs from VRMMO's Council of 10. Next to them were 3 others. Umiza Giant Kill, Makubwa Mount King, and Salmon Spirit Crier. Several other orc guards were on standby on the sides of the hall. Makati excused himself after leading Jack and 4 Winds here. Kabaka, the Grand Chief, gestured for the two to approach. 2 high-level mythical grades, Jack thought while walking. Only 1 exit. No windows. Perhaps getting close to the Grand Chief in a secluded room is not such a bright idea. It was too late to back away now, so he just went with it. Halt! That's close enough, Makubwa said. He came forward and stood in front of the council chiefs. Jack and For Winds stopped. Congratulations again on getting a place in our council. Chief 4 Winds, Kabaka said. We will discuss the details of the inauguration, your duties, and your rights as a council member after we deal with another urgent matter. What urgent matter? For Winds asked. Kabaka then turned to Jack and said, An urgent matter that involved an enemy's infiltration into our territory. The second he finished speaking, the guards by the side rushed over and encircled Jack, cutting his escape path. Grand Chief, please wait, For Winds said. Shut your mouth, one of the council chiefs, Jinga Loudmaw, hissed. You are a traitor who has aided an enemy. We should just hang you and your entire guild instead of giving you a seat in the council. Kabaka waved at Jinga. Jinga, we've discussed this. He won the tourney. If we deny him his right, we are denying the tradition handed down by our ancestors. The two of them fight fair and square. Even though his helper used a false identity, his helper was registered by the world as his tribe. He is not at fault when it comes to following the tourney's rules. Kabaka then turned to 4 Winds. That being said, depending on how things go, I might still need to punish you for smuggling an enemy into our midst. Your seat on the council is secured. Do not worry about that, but be prepared for a different penalty. Kabaka finally turned to Jack. Now, do you wish to show yourself on your own accord, or shall we? Seeing things had come to this, Jack saw no choice. He transformed back to his real self. It truly is you, Jinga uttered. The orc guards around immediately adopted a more hostile pose. They were ready to strike. Hold a euro, Kabaka called out. No one makes any move. Grand Chief, this is our chance to capture the leader of an enemy country, Jinga uttered. I said hold, Kabaka repeated with a sterner voice. Kabaka looked around to make sure everyone abided. He then said to Jack, Honestly, I'm still surprised that it truly is you. When Umiza came to me with his suspicion, I asked the mages to prepare rune diagrams inside this room. Nothing fancy like dispelling a disguise since we do not have much time, but something that tells us that someone is using a disguise. The rune diagram marked you the minute you entered this hall. We know you are in disguise, but I still can't believe it is the king of Themisphere himself. Why do you come here, all by yourself, into the hand of the enemies using such a covert and disgraceful manner? Honorable Grand Chief, I come in peace, Jack said. I come in this manner because I have no choice. I have been trying to get in touch with you, trying to get an audience with you in a proper way, but you keep on rejecting my messengers, Jack said. I died a euro? Kabaka turned to the side. Jinga, who saw the glare, immediately said, Greyuro Grand Chief. It's true that there are delegations from Themisphere, but they are enemies. We do not need to listen to whatever they say. Jinga was the council chief responsible for foreign matters. Fool! Whether they're enemies or allies, messengers should be respected. Are we now a dishonorable race who captures or kills messengers, or captures or kills an enemy who comes willingly and presents himself before us? There is no glory in capturing or killing an enemy outside of combat. Jinga dropped his head after the scolding. Kabaka returned his attention to Jack. That being said, it didn't mean that we will just let you go. You can blame yourself for being so brave in coming here. But I will let you say your piece. Why do you want to meet me? Instead of answering, Jack took out something from his inventory. Makubwa and the other guards were agitated when something suddenly appeared in Jack's hand. They almost attacked, but they stopped when they felt the aura emitted by the item in Jack's hand. That is a euro. It took a few seconds before someone finally identified the item. It is a euro, it's the totem banner a euro. Most of them never laid eyes on the legendary artifact. This artifact was already gone before they were born. All they knew about their national treasure were from history books. This banner that Jack was holding was identical to the descriptions and illustrations in those books. I came here to return this totem banner to its rightful place, as was desired by Themisphere's fourth king, Thebalder, Jack declared. Everyone was silent. They were confused about Jack's purpose in coming here, but this totem banner was the last thing they expected. It was Jinga who spoke first. The thief has finally returned the stolen item. Guards, seize the banner and apprehend the thief. You stay your tongue, Kabaka scolded. I am the Grand Chief here. You are speaking out of turn. Jinga winced at the words. Kabaka then walked forward. Grand Chief Ayuro, Makubwa, who stood between Jack and the council chiefs, tried to block Kabaka's path. Kabaka put a hand on him. It's all right, he said. I don't sense any hostility from him, and I believe in you if he tries anything. Hearing that, Makubwa moved aside. He followed closely beside Kabaka as the Grand Chief approached Jack. May I? Kabaka said and extended his hand, asking for the totem banner in Jack's hand. Jack felt a dilemma. As long as the totem banner was in his hand, he had a chip to bargain his way out. No one could steal the things in his storage bag if he stored this artifact inside. But once it left his hand, then he had nothing to stop these orcs from attacking him. But if he used this totem banner as a bargaining chip, it defeated the whole purpose of his attempt. He was trying to make peace with this nation. Peace needed goodwill. Peace needed trust. If he couldn't show these orcs his goodwill and trust, then he should forget about expecting the same thing from them. So, he extended his hand that was holding the totem banner and released his hold. The totem banner was now in Kabaka's hand. Kabaka held the banner as if it was the most precious thing. The guards were getting ready again. They were expecting the Grand Chief to give the order to apprehend Jack now that the totem banner was in Kabaka's hands. While they were waiting, an apparition suddenly appeared above the totem banner. Took everyone by surprise, including Jack. Some of the orcs even thought this was part of Jack's ploy, that an enchantment had been placed on the totem banner and it was now activated after Kabaka took the banner. But before they could do anything, the apparition above the banner spoke. The apparition was the image of an orc in battle armor. Greetings, my fellow orcs. My name is Majudo Raretooth, son of the great Ajabu Raretooth, the apparition declared. Everyone's alarm scaled down once they realized the apparition was just a recording. I implanted my spirit recording inside this artifact because I realize I won't be making it home, and so is this totem banner. I must admit I might have been too impulsive, but I don't regret my decision. My brother Thebalder needed this artifact, and for a good reason. He needed it to close a demonic portal that will not only threaten his kingdom but our nation as well, and the whole world if it goes unchecked. I have been too wounded by an archdemon, but I managed to drive it back into the portal. However, this place is already sealed, and so is my fate. I'm using my remaining life force to implant this memory, which will be activated when this artifact returns to an orc's hand. I don't know how long it will be before that happens. I just know that there will be tensions between our two allying countries due to this incident. I place this memory to implore you, my Orcish family, not to blame the humans. We should honor our ancestors' pact and remain as allies. The apparition then dissolved into nothingness. Everyone remained silent for a long while. Though surprised by the recording, the guards still maintained a ready pose. They were still waiting for Kabaka's order to apprehend Jack. Kabaka didn't give the order. He instead asked Jack, "You said before that the Themisphere's fourth king desired to return this artifact. Our history said that Thebalder tricked our past Grand Chief's son to steal this artifact. After hearing what Majuto's memory said, I would like to hear the whole story. Do you know the story?" "I do," Jack answered. He was more than happy to oblige. The fact that he was not attacked yet after handing the totem banner was already a very good sign. Maybe Majuto's memory had something to do with it. He silently offered thanks to the ancient orc. Jack narrated what Thebalder had told him about how the incident happened. How Majuto Raretooth willingly brought the totem banner to Themisphere, and later willingly gave his life to save Thebalder and sealed himself with the archdemon. Jack told them everything, including what he went through to get the totem banner, except for the location of the demonic portal. The orcs listened without interrupting. After Jack was done telling the tale, another period of silence returned. Kabaka spoke first. "You said that the demonic portal is not yet closed. You can take this totem banner out because the closing process only needs one legendary artifact. Are you saying you choose to take out this totem banner over your kingdom's national treasure?" "I did," Jack answered. "Grand Chief, he could just be lying about everything," Jinga said. Kabaka turned to him and said, "If you are referring to the demonic portal, you know he was not." Jack didn't understand what that meant. Perhaps it was because Majuto's apparition had confirmed the existence of the demonic portal? Whatever it was, it shut Jinga up. Why? Why not take the boundless cash instead? Kabaka turned back to Jack and asked, "Our countries have suffered too long for this misunderstanding. Further conflicts will just weaken both of us. I don't wish for this enmity to continue further. I hope that you feel the same. I wish for peace between our two great countries." Jinga reacted to Jack's request. "Peace? The totem banner was kept in your kingdom for almost 200 years. Our nation went through all those years in a state of vulnerability because of it. We have to fight against pirates and barbarian tribes without the aid of the totem banner. We lost soldiers where we shouldn't have. How do you account for those losses?" "Account? Then how about we talked about your recent invasion and all the other battles VRMMO forces had directed at us?" Jack shot back. "You entered our territory, destroying our towns and land. Many of our soldiers lost their lives in that war. How do you compensate for the casualties in this war your nation initiated?" Jinga was about to talk back, but Kabaka's glare stopped him. Kabaka then said to Jack, "Our countries have been at odds for almost 2 centuries. It will not be easy to let go of our bad blood. We orcs are a warring race, but we are not mindless barbarians who make war for the sake of bloodlust. We also honored peace, especially against honorable parties. You have proven yourself as one with such honor. You put yourself at the risk of being captured to give our two countries the first step toward peace. That alone is an honorable act deserving our respect." Kabaka made a gesture of slight bow after his words. The other orcs immediately followed suit. Jack returned the gesture with the same slight bow. "Thank you, Grand Chief. I sincerely hope we can start to rebuild the trust and alliance that were forged by the ancestors of our two countries," Jack said. "Rebuilding the alliance is too large a step," Kabaka replied. "As I said, it will not be easy for our people to let go of their bad blood. It will need time, but you can rest assured that your kingdom no longer needs to fear aggression from our side. This I can promise you. In the coming days, I will also discuss with my people about opening our border to the human race. We will see where our two countries go from there. I hope you do the same on your side." That will be my priority once I return to Therath. Thank you, Honorable Grand Chief, Jack said sincerely. At the same time, he heard a notification. Congratulations on completing the quest. Repair the relationship between Themisphere and VRMMO. Receive rewards of 5 million EXP, 50 gold coins, 1,000 mana cores, and 200,000 merit points. His sovereign level increased to level 5 after the notification, receiving 10 ruling power. From sovereign level 5 to level 6 required 250,000 merit points. He was only lacking 52,196 merit points for that. Once he reached level 6, he could add another royal agent. Themisphere's throne had changed kings many times. It was only half a month since an outworlder sat on the throne, and the political relationship between our two countries had faced a potential change. In a good way, Kabaka praised Jack. He then looked at Four Winds and said, "This gives me the confidence that our newly inaugurated outworlder chief will perform well too. I will do my best to not let you down, Grand Chief," Four Winds responded. Kabaka smiled and turned back to Jack. "King Stormwind, now that we have everything cleared up, it is only right that we welcome you as a proper dignitary. Please come with us to the City Hall. We will arrange a feast there." "It will be my pleasure, Honorable Grand Chief," Jack said. Although he very much liked to leave now after achieving his objective, socializing with a potential ally was also a king's duty. "Chief Four Winds, you come too," Kabaka said. "The City Hall will be where you spend your days ruling this city and its region. You should start getting used to the place." "Thank you, Grand Chief," Four Winds said. Amiza came to Jack and said, "Perhaps we can have our tea now?" Jack laughed merrily at the old orc's words. Sometimes fate was indeed unexpected. Woga braided beard sighed on the side. He muttered, "If only a Baisai was still here. His tribe has carried the taint of losing the totem banner for so long. The return of the banner and Majuto's memory will have restored their tribe's honor." Where did they all go? Jack spent the afternoon talking with most of the council chiefs inside a meeting hall, discussing serious matters and non-serious matters. Four Winds, on the other hand, was shown around the city hall and was informed of his tasks as one of the council chiefs. He had himself some sort of a throne in the Great Hall. Penuel had come out of her hidden dimension and was touring the place with him. Penuel informed him that the large seat in that hall was where he could operate the partial monarch system. Four Winds sat on the seat, but nothing happened. His guide told him that he had to be inaugurated first before he had access to the system. His inauguration was scheduled 2 days later. Four Winds thanked the guide after the tour. He then talked to Penuel to know everything about the partial monarch system, so he didn't waste too much time grasping in the dark once he started operating the system. On Jack's side, Amiza was also in the meeting hall drinking tea with Jack. During the talk, he said to Kabaka, "Grand Chief, now that we are no longer at war with Themisphere, what should we do with the human prisoners?" "Prisoners?" Jack's ears perked up after hearing it. "You are right," Kabaka said. "I almost forgot. King Stormwind, we have captured some humans from the invasion war, as well as some human adventurers who brazenly adventure around our land. Now that we have buried our hatchet, we will of course release them." Kabaka turned to Woga and gave him the instruction. He assured Jack that the prisoners would be freed by tomorrow. Kabaka said to Jack, "Your side might also have some orc prisoners. I believe you will do the honorable thing and release them as well." "I am honestly not aware of any prisoner. But you have my word. If there are prisoners, they will be freed," Jack replied. Kabaka nodded. Jack asked, "Where are the prisoners placed?" "They are in jails in different cities," Kabaka answered. "Are there any in this city?" Kabaka turned to Woga, who answered, "There are 2. One was captured during the invasion. Another was an adventurer captured a long time ago." "May I see them?" Jack asked. "I will have them brought here," Woga said. "It is improper for a king to visit the jail." Woga then called a soldier and gave him the instruction. They continued chatting until the door was opened and the same orc soldier brought 2 human natives with ragged clothes in. "Loran," Jack called after seeing one of the humans. "Storm a euro." Laurent was dazed seeing Jack's presence. After Laurent sacrificed himself to block the orcs from chasing after Alfredo and the others, he had been caught. He thought he would be executed. But instead, he was brought back as a captive and put into jail. Just now, the orc warden had come into his jail, removed his shackles, and then brought him to City Hall. He was wondering what it was all about. Then he saw a familiar outworlder, sitting together with orc leaders as if they were best friends. Not to mention, the outworlder was wearing regal outfits that he had only ever seen worn by the king. Euro. Laurent was completely lost. A lot has happened, Jack said with a wide smile as he approached. When I heard that they have prisoners here, I have been hoping that one of them is you. Duke Alfredo and Duchess Isabel will be very happy to see that you are alive. Euro your clothes, Laurent stammered. As I said, a lot has happened. Well, short version. I'm now the king of Themisphere. How a euro? We can talk later, Jack said and turned to Woga. Is there a place where he can clean himself? Of course. Woga then ordered the soldier who had brought Laurent here. Bring him to the bath, and give him a clean set of cloth. What about my friend? Laurent gestured to the other prisoner he came in with. Jack turned to that person and used inspect. The man's name was Robinson, and he was a level 75 rare elite. Impressive level and grade, Jack thought. Jack turned to Woga, who nodded and said to the soldier, him too. After the two ex-prisoners left, Jack resumed chatting with the orc leaders for the remainder of the afternoon. In the evening, he was presented with a feast, both to celebrate 4 wins ascend to the Council of 10, and also to entertain a foreign monarchy visit. The news about how VRMMO and Themisphere would be burying the hatchet had spread all around the city. The news soon traveled to other cities. Kabaka let the news spread. He was actually the one who ordered it. This should help prepare the mass when the human race started entering their cities. Laurent and Robinson joined the feast. Being the only 3 humans in the crowd, they stuck together. The two ended up acting as Jack's entourage, following Jack around as he greeted important orc officers. In between the necessary greetings, the 3 chatted. Robinson was already in jail before Laurent was tossed inside. Being the only 2 humans inside, they became close friends. Robinson was originally part of a group of adventurers who braved the Fulgur region. One day, his group accidentally encountered a high-level mythical monster. His group was slaughtered except for him. He only managed to save himself after running for days. He was not fully aware of his direction during his run. He ended up inside VRMMO territory. He happened on patrolling orc soldiers who captured him because he was a human. He was then brought to Mjikumaba and tossed into its jail, where he had stayed since. He was not sure how long he had been in jail. He thought it should already be more than 1 year because before he was put in jail, Outworlders had not arrived yet. Jack was sorry about his situation. Jack asked him what was he going to do now. Jack asked whether he was going back to the adventuring life. He said adventuring alone was too dangerous for him. All his companions were gone. He admitted that he honestly didn't know what to do. Hearing that, Jack offered him to join the kingdom. With his high level and grade, Jack said that the kingdom would need his help. He was hesitant at first, but probably he saw that he owed Jack for saving him from jail. So he agreed. He would report to the kingdom office once they were back in Themisphere. The feast lasted till late at night. Kabaka invited Jack to stay a few more days to attend 4 Winds inauguration. Considering Jack helped 4 Winds win the tourney, he thought the 2 Outworlders should be close friends. Jack replied although he would like to, he had many matters to attend to. He needed to go back tomorrow and prepare from his side about opening the border for the orc race. He figured not many human officers would be thrilled about this. As Kabaka said, bad blood between their countries had lasted for a long time. It would be hard to ask everyone to just forgive and forget. He might need to think of extra precautions to protect the orcs once they started entering human cities, especially the native ones. Otherwise, things might get ugly again and all his efforts were wasted. Kabaka didn't force Jack to stay. Jack was given one of the best rooms in the city hall to spend the night. He spent the rest of the night sending messages to Jeannie and John. informing them about the situation. He asked John to start discussing with the other advisors about lifting the ban on orcs and started drafting rules on how to deal with the orcs when they entered their cities. John said that there was no worry. Genie had sent a few helpful players during Jack's absence. The players used to be politicians and legislators in their real lives. John had used his position as the royal advisor to put these players to work in the palace. They had been very helpful in drafting regulations to help keep the players and natives from clashing against one another, especially adventurer players. This was not a problem in the past because players' level was much lower than the native. Now, there were plenty of high-level players. The average-level native guards were no longer sufficient if all of these players caused a problem. Hence, the regulations were made for these players to keep them on a leash. Everlasting Heavenly Legends and its allied guilds also helped maintain these regulations, especially those who had joined the Kingdom faction. These players helped the native guards if rogue players were causing trouble. Jack didn't forget to ask John to check with Isabel and Thurgood about the orc prisoners. If there were such prisoners, they were to be released immediately. It was way past midnight when Jack was about to sleep. He didn't have enough sleep, though, because around 2 hours after he slept, he was woken up in the most uncool way possible, by a vivid nightmare. He didn't remember what the nightmare was about, but he woke up sweating. In front of him, a literal nightmare was staring back at him. "Ma'am, are you the reason I'm having a nightmare? If you want to wake me up, just give me a nudge or something," Jack complained. Pandora started neighing for a reply. Penuel also came out of her hidden dimension. She was listening to the nightmare intently. What did she want? Jack asked half-sleepily after Pandora stopped making sounds. Before Penuel could answer, Jack heard a quest notification. "You have been offered a Steed's quest. Help Pandora. Do you accept?" "Steero Steed's quest." Jack stammered. "You do remember that she gave you a 1-year limit for her service, don't you?" Penuel asked. "Oh, you're right," Jack uttered. He honestly had forgotten about it. He then made some quick calculations. There was still around 1 month before their contract ended. "This is your chance to make her your permanent steed," Penuel said. "Help her. Perform well, and she might consider serving you forever." "Help her doing what?" Jack asked. "Her family is in danger," Penuel answered. "She needs your help to save them." She had a family? Jack had trouble picturing a herd of fiery horses with nightmare visions gathered together as a family group. "Yes, get ready. She will take you there right now," Penuel said. "What? Right now? You mean, right this second?" "Right this second. Why such a hurry?" Jack turned to Pandora. "Ma'am, can you please wait 1 day?" "No, half a day. I wish to take care of some stuff first." Pandora neighed and stomped her feet. The atmosphere in the room turned significantly darker even though it was already dark. Jack didn't need Penuel to interpret the nightmare's answer. "Damn it, such a pushy," Jack complained. Jack originally planned to go back to Therath first to use the mass pay function to increase the officers' loyalties. Tomorrow would be 1 week since he last used it. Not to mention, Verimer's Grand Chief had expressed the desire to send him off tomorrow. Going away now would be so impolite, but he guessed he couldn't argue with an angry fiery horse who could literally give him nightmares every night if she was displeased. Pandora neighed and stomped again, showing her displeasure. "Hold your horses. I will help you, but at least give me a few minutes. Will you?" Jack said. "I need to talk to someone first." He accepted the quest and then walked out of the room. He knocked on the door to the next room. Laurent opened the door. Both Laurent and Robinson were given a guest room next to Jack. "What's wrong, Your Majesty?" Laurent asked. "Something urgent has come up. I need to leave now," Jack said. "I can't accompany you back to Therath, but I can give you gold coins, so you can use the zone portal to teleport directly." Jack had planned to use the zone portal with Laurent and Robinson instead of letting them go back on foot with the other prisoners. Using zone portals for natives was expensive, but Jack didn't mind paying for the fees since he had many coins. "Where are you going, Your Majesty? Do you need my help?" "I don't mind coming with you," Laurent said. "Umayuro, that was not a bad idea." Jack turned to Penuel. "Where are we going? Can I bring him?" Pandora can only carry one person to where she needs to go, Penuel said. So no. You can call Arlcard and your royal agents once you are there, but you can't bring another passenger along the way. Oh, too bad. His healing spells would have been very handy, Jack said. He then turned back to Laurent and said, Well, you hear the lady. Unfortunately, I can't bring you. You should go back to Therath as originally planned. Here are the coins for you and Robinson. Jack handed him 240 gold coins. It took 120 gold coins to teleport from Jikumaba directly to Therath. The longer the distance, the more expensive the cost. That's why it was impossible to teleport a whole army of natives. Thank you, Your Majesty, Laurent said after accepting the coins. He was truly grateful to Jack. Hey, can I ask you? Do you mind being my royal agent? Jack asked. Or are you planning to go back to the Church of Creation? Even if I want to, they won't accept me back. They made it pretty clear when I chose to help during the invasion, Laurent replied. To answer your question, yes, I will be honored if you are willing to have me as your royal agent. Sweet. My sovereign level will increase soon. Once it does, I will send you an invite. Please accept it then, Jack said. Sounds of stuff breaking could be heard from next door. Okay, got to go. I have an angry nightmare to attend to, Jack said and hurriedly ran back to his room. He sent a quick message to Four Winds on his way, explaining his urgency and asking Four Winds to send his regards and his apology to the Grand Chief for disappearing in the middle of the night. Okay, I'm ready. Should we go outside first? We are inside a room, for goodness sake, Jack asked after he was back in his room. Pandora neighed with impatience. She said just climb up. Slowpoke, Penuel translated. Fine. Let's go Euro to wherever the hell you want me to go, Jack said and climbed up Pandora. Funny, Penuel said. You are indeed going to hell. What? Jack thought he must have heard wrong. You do remember where I said her kinds came from, don't you? Penuel asked. Pandora didn't wait for the two to finish chatting. She just started running at high speed inside that bedroom. Why, Euro! Jack screamed when he saw that they were about to crash into the wall. The room suddenly elongated. It was like he was looking at a picture getting stretched. Pandora continued to run at high speed while the room expanded at a speed not slower than Pandora, so the wall was always out of reach. Then, the room started to burn in different spots like it was made of paper. It continued to burn until there was nothing left but void. Despite seeing nothing, Jack knew from his mana sense that they were in some kind of a tunnel, and Pandora kept on galloping. After an indefinite amount of time, Jack saw the end of the tunnel. Not the sighting of a light source, but instead, the sighting of a much darker thing compared to the already dark void around them. Pandora rammed straight into this wall of the blackest substance by the end of the tunnel without slowing down. Then, it was not dark anymore. Around him was a scene of black and red. Hard black stony ground with lava rivers, burning bushes, and burning trees were all around. Above him was a red sky, filled with ominous dark clouds and occasional thunder and lightning. But what tipped Jack off that he was no longer in the same dimension as the previous game world was the sickening mana all around him. It made him feel uncomfortable. Where do you say this place is again? Jack asked. Welcome to the underworld, Penuel answered. The Euro, the underworld Euro? Do you mean the same underworld where that archdemon we fought inside the dome came out from? The very same. Holy Euro! Jack looked around, expecting to see demons around there. His radar then informed him several things approaching fast. His mana sense also picked up the danger soon. His Stormbreaker was out and he used Shredding Fangs in the direction where the ambushers came from, followed by Wind Slash. He just started attacking without thinking too much. He was currently too agitated. What attacked him were 5 monsters, 4 were dead after his attacks. 1 survived. Huh? Why so weak? Jack asked after seeing it. In his anxious state, he was expecting the ones ambushing to be powerful demons. He now had a good look at the one surviving ambusher. It was something that looked like a cross between a large snake and a bat. Jack's inspect informed him the monster was Amphipterylit, a level 50 elite draconic. The one surviving amphitrylate flew away after seeing its brethren killed. When Jack noticed that he had received 8 draconic essences from the 4 amphitrylate he had just killed, he used Sword of Light. The fleeing last amphitrylate died, and he received another 2 draconic essences. Not demons? Jack asked. Not every monster in the underworld is a demon, Penuel replied. Hey, I just noticed. Those amphitrylates are not afraid of Pandora, Jack uttered. He was still sitting atop the nightmare. Many of the underworld creatures had a high resistance against psychic attack, Penuel explained. So, Pandora's ability will be somewhat dampened here. HMA I don't mind getting attacked by those weak amphitrylate, though. I need the draconic essences. Do you know where their lair is in this place? Jack asked. Pandora neighed and reared up. Jack would have fallen if there was no magical glue holding his butt to Pandora. She said she didn't take you here, so you can go and farm monsters, Penuel translated. Okay. I apologize. No need to get upset. Take me to where you want to take me then, Jack said to the nightmare. Pandora then shot off in a direction. Jack opened his map and marked the coordinates where he met the amphitrylates, just in case he had the chance to come back again. He also noticed that his map had a different vibe now. Before, the map of the area he had already traveled to looked vibrant and was dominated by yellow and green colors. The map here was dominated by brown and red colors. This further reinforced that he was in a different world than before. This place is suffocating, Jack said. The uncomfortable feeling he had isn't going away. It's because of the corrupted mana, Penuel said. Remember when I explained underworld demons needed corrupted mana to survive? This place was their natural habitat. Pandora continued galloping. The landscape was mostly barren except for those burning bushes and trees. Stone hills with sharp pointy ends filled the terrain. Pandora had no trouble traversing the terrains. She even ran atop the lava rivers. Jack saw some monsters. Some were still affected by Pandora's aura. Some were, as Penuel said, resistant and chased after Pandora. Yet Pandora's speed was too fast for those monsters. She just left them in the dust. When she teleported us into this realm, why didn't she just direct it to where she wanted to go? Jack asked Penuel telepathically. It didn't work that way. The crossing between the 2 realms was unstable. She could only pinpoint a region. Where she appeared in that region was completely random. After some time, Jack finally saw something on his radar. A cluster of white dots. Natives, Jack said with surprise. Underworld is not all just chaotic place filled with demons, Penuel told him. Some sort of a settlement was soon visible. It wasn't large. It was the size of a village. The houses were tall cone-like structures made of materials that Jack was not aware of. Some folks were walking around the village. When they got near, Jack saw that they were humanoids with goat legs and goat horns. They were satyrs. Pandora just barged into the village like nobody's business, which surprised the inhabitants. The commotion caused the entire village to become aware of her coming. She stopped in the middle of the village. All the satyrs in the village ran to where Pandora was. Jack was worried the satyrs were angry about Pandora's stunt. His radar still showed the satyrs as white dots instead of red, but he still held his weapons at the ready just in case. Then all the satyrs around them dropped to their knees in a reverent pose. Jack didn't know what to make of the satyrs kneeling before him. He then stored his weapons and said, "Everyone, please get up. I didn't know that people of the underworld also respect the sovereignty of the Themisphere Kingdom." Ha 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 Euro, his laughing stopped after receiving a slap from Penuel. "They are not kneeling for you, dumbass," she uttered. At the same time, Pandora reared up. This time, there was no magical glue holding Jack to the nightmare. He fell to the ground on his butt. Ouch! Was that necessary? Jack complained. The satyrs stood back up, but they stayed standing in their places. Except for one satyr who looked to be the eldest. He approached Pandora. Pandora also walked to him. The 2 touched their heads. The satyr closed his eyes and muttered something indecipherable. "Hoa Euro!" Jack was amazed. This was the first time he saw this cocky nightmare acting so affectionate. It seemed that this village is where the custodians of nightmares live, Penuel said after seeing the scene. Custodians? Jack asked. The nightmares are exceptional steeds. They are the only beings capable of freely traveling between the main world and the underworld. This makes lots of sides try to capture them. The young ones, it's impossible to capture the adult ones. It is rumored that there is a group of people who worship the nightmares and take it upon themselves to protect these nightmares. They are the custodians. When a nightmare is giving birth, she will return to these custodians who then help her give birth. Afterward, it is the custodian's job to nurture the nightmares and keep them hidden until they are strong enough to venture out into the world by themselves. I see a euro from the look of it. That old satyr should be the one who took care of Pandora when she was young, Jack surmised. It's likely, Penuel said. After a while, Pandora looked back at Jack. The elder satyr also looked over. The elder satyr approached Jack. Jack scanned him and learned his name was Icos. He was a level 65 special elite. Good tidings, Upworld dweller. Welcome to Pylenus village. Pandora told me a lot of things about you. Icos greeted. She did? You two didn't talk for long. Are all the things she said about me good or bad? A bit of both, Icos chuckled. But she said you are someone who can be depended upon. She did. Jack looked at Pandora, who turned away from his gaze. The fact is, we need help and there is no one in this underworld whom we can depend on, Icos said. That's why I contacted Pandora. What's the problem? Jack asked. Instead of answering, Icos said, Come with me, please. Icos led them outside the village. Pandora walked beside him while Jack and Penuel followed behind. They came upon the edge of burning woods. Will those trees continue to burn? Won't the flame eat all the woods up at one point? Jack asked. No. This is the natural state of trees in the underworld, Penuel answered. The flame will continue to burn as the tree grows. Once the flame dies, the tree dies as well. Okay, Jack said. He figured it would be a waste of time trying to understand how that worked. Yvonne and Pandora entered the burning woods. Jack entered anxiously as he made sure to not get burned by the flames. Yvonne took out a pipe and started blowing it. Jack didn't hear any sound from the pipe. When Jack was still wondering why the old satyr play an instrument in the middle of the forest, the scenery around them shifted. What a euro! He was still stunned as the landscape around them transformed. It was like their surroundings rotated at a high speed. Then it stopped. He found they were standing on a small island surrounded by a lava lake. What the euro did we teleport? He asked. This is a secret dimension we constructed, Yvonne answered as he stored his pipe. This is where we hide the young ones. When he finished speaking, two little nightmares leaped out of a nearby rock and ran to Yvonne. The old satyr laughed and petted the two. He was not hurt by their flames, just as Jack wasn't hurt by Pandora's. This is Sol. This is Fyra. Yvonne told them of the little nightmares' names. Sol and Fyra then noticed the nearby Pandora. They looked over with curiosity. Pandora came at them and lowered her head. The little ones slowly approached and started rubbing their heads on Pandora's. Yvonne moved back and let the three spend time with each other. Those two never saw Pandora since their birth, Yvonne said after he came to Jack's side. But they could sense their mother's aura from Pandora. Their mother? Jack asked. Their mother's name is Luna. She is Pandora's sister, Yvonne answered. I see a euro, so where is Luna? Yvonne sighed. That is the problem, Yvonne said. Luna had been captured. Captured? I thought it is impossible to capture an adult nightmare, Penuel said. You are the one saying that. I remember when we found Pandora, she was also in captivity. So it should not be impossible, Jack said. Oh, hi euro, now that you mentioned eat a euro, Penuel remembered after Jack pointed it out. So, I guess you need help freeing their mother, Jack said to Yvonne. Who captured her? And where is she imprisoned? She had been captured by a hell baron called Ragshu. She is being kept inside that demon's manor, Yvonne answered. Hell baron? Demons also have a hierarchy? Jack asked. Yes. Our underworld is one big demonic empire. Can you help us? I am here, ain't I? Do you know where is the manor of this Hell Baron? If you open your map, I can input its coordinates. Jack opened his map as requested. While interfacing with Jack's map, Yvonne said, if you traveled with Pandora, it should take only 1 day to reach that place from our village. I implore you to make haste. We don't know what Ragshu is doing to Luna. I bet she was being forced into servitude. An adult nightmare prefers dying to being a slave. If we delay, I'm afraid Luna might decide to end herself rather than submit. While they were talking, a spatial distortion happened at the edge of the map. Jack immediately readied his weapons, but Yvonne told him to relax. There is no need to worry, Yvonne said. 2 satyrs appeared from the spatial distortion. 1 male and 1 female. The female was holding a pipe similar to the one Yvonne used earlier. Slung on her back was a long staff. The male was bare-chested, but from his waist downward he was garbed with armor. He had a long cleaver strapped beside his waist and a buckler on his back. The minute the 2 appeared, the 2 little nightmares immediately ran over to them. Soul ran to the female satyr who petted the nightmare affectionately, while Fyra jumped onto the male satyr's chest. The male hugged Fyra with a laugh. They are my son and daughter, Tenka and Yurin, Yvonne introduced to Jack. They are also the main custodians to those 2 little ones. Jack used Inspect on the 2. Both were rare elite. Tenka was level 70. Yurin was level 72. Father, Yurin greeted Yvonne. Yurin, let me introduce. This is Pandora, whom I often mention to you, Yvonne said. It's great to finally meet you, ma'am, Yurin said to Pandora. Pandora replied by neighing. The 2 continued chatting. Jack was amazed at how the 2 enjoyed their chat while they both used completely different languages. Father. Tenka greeted his father after putting down Fyra from his embrace. This is Mr. Storm Wind. Yvonne introduced Jack to his son. He is an upworld dweller. Pandora brought him here to help us out with the situation with Luna. Tenka studied Jack for a while and said, You are an outworlder. I am, Jack replied. Tenka turned to his father and said, What can an outworlder do? I am higher level than him. You should have let me and Yurin go to rescue Luna. No. We have talked about this a lot of times. You 2 are the main custodians to Soul and Fyra. If anything happened to either of you, their growth would be affected. If we failed to bring back Luna, it will be even worse. You know they need their mother's essence to grow. It is our job as their custodians to make sure that their mother is returned to them. I have said it before, and I'm not changing my mind. No, Yvonne uttered. You are one stubborn fool, Tenka scolded. Tenka, that is not the way to speak to our father. Yurin chided. Humph, it's pointless to speak, Tenka said and barged off. He also had the same pipe as Yvonne and Yurin. He was now blowing his pipe and using the spatial distortion to exit this place. I will talk to him, Yurin said. She ran off and joined her brother, who entered the spatial distortion. Yvonne sighed heavily after the 2 left. Jack said to him, Actually, the 2 of them have good levels and grades. It will help if they come with us to save Luna. We might need a local's guide to deal with certain things. Yvonne shook his head. I'm afraid I can't let anyone from my village accompany you €1 when I told Tenka that he can't go because he is a custodian. It is only an excuse. The real reason I don't let him go is that I don't want anyone to connect Luna to our village. Even more so the demons of the Underworld Empire. If they do, the demons might come searching. If they learned about Soul and Fyra, they will take those 2 away. Pandora neighed, to which Yvonne responded with, Thank you. That is reassuring. What did she say? Jack asked Penuel. She said, Don't worry. Storm alone is enough for the task. He will surely bring Luna back. Damn it. That is a bold thing to promise without asking me first, Jack grumbled in his mind. How strong is this Hell Baron anyway? Jack asked. He is a level 60 special elite demon, Yvonne answered. Oh? He is weak. Then no problem, sir. We will have Luna back in no time. Ha 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 euro. Though he is not too strong, he is a Hell Baron. He has many demon soldiers guarding his manor. From what I learned from the satyrs I sent to scout his manor, he probably has more than 100 demon soldiers, with levels ranging around 50 to 70 and grades around elite to rare elite. HM I don't see any problem, Jack said. As long as Luna is truly there, we can just barge in with brute force and save her. I've not yet finished, Ivok said. He also has 2 demon bodyguards. Both are mythical grades. I'm not sure about the level, but might be around level 60 or 70. Oh, now that is more problematic but still manageable, Jack said. He had Arlcard and Thurass who were both also mythical grades. Even if the enemies were higher level, they should be able to hold back those 2 demon bodyguards. He and his royal guards could take care of the other soldiers and then free Luna. After that, they could work together to finish the bodyguards. Jack then thought of something. Wait, is Rakshu's manor in a town full of demons? If so, then it's a big problem. I doubt the demons will just let a human like me waltz in. Won't they? No, they won't. But don't worry, Rakshu's manor is out in the wilderness, Ivok answered. That's a relief. Then all I need to worry about is the 2 mythical guards. Unfortunately, those bodyguards are not the most worrying matter, Ivok said. What? Are you saying there are stronger beings than those mythical grade bodyguards that I have to worry about? There is, Ivok said. You see, the reason why a weak hell baron like Rakshu has 2 mythical grade bodyguards is that he is the son of one of the 6 kings of hell. Kings of hell? Jack asked. The underworld empire is ruled by 7 devils, Penuel explained. The emperor of hell, Lucifer, sits at the top. Ruling under him are the 6 kings of hell. I'm surprised that you know so much about the underworld, Miss Penuel, Ivok praised. Rakshu is the son of one of them, Mammon. If Rakshu is such a big shot son, why is he only a hell baron in the middle of nowhere? Jack asked. Because Rakshu is too weak. Mammon is disappointed with that son of his. But even so, he is still his son. I'm sure he put some kind of rune diagram to warn him if anything happens to his son. When that happens, it is possible that he sent a stronger demon over or maybe even come by himself. Mammon is a level 95 eternal grade devil. Liauro level 95 eternal Liauro? Jack stammered. That was as strong as Broidryric. He doubted he could do anything if he had to face this king of hell. Jack pondered this information with a solemn face. Still confident? Penuel ridiculed. Jack glanced at Pandora. The nightmare had been staring at him the entire time. Even if it was dangerous, he still had to go. Unless, of course, he no longer wanted Pandora for his steed. But even if there was no benefit, he still had to go. He considered Pandora as a friend, even if the nightmare didn't return the same sentiment. He was not one to avoid braving dangers to help a friend in need. Do you know where Mammon stays? How far away is he from Rakshu's manor? Jack asked Ivok. Each king of hell rules over a demonic city and resides inside a palace. Mammon's palace is in a city called Dawnburn. By Pandora's speed, it would take around 3 days. But I'm sure Mammon's travel speed will be faster. Even if he is 3 times faster, he still needs 1 day to arrive, Jack said. It should still be enough time for us to do our things, as long as we immediately act once Rakshu finds out about us. Don't forget there is a chance Rakshu's manor has a teleportation chamber that Mammon can use to arrive instantaneously, Penuel said. HM what is the nearest town with a zone portal to Rakshu's manor? Jack asked. That will be Desirich. It is around 9 hours of travel by Pandora, Ivok answered. Then our first order of business is to sneak into Rakshu's manor and find out if there is a teleportation chamber. If there is, we destroy it to prevent Mammon from using it. After that, we will take it that we have 3 hours to find Luna and get away from there. When will you depart? Ivok asked. Jack glanced at Pandora again before answering. As you said, it's better if we make haste. We don't know what Rakshu is doing to Luna. We will depart at once. That's great. Thank you very much for doing this for us. Jack waved him off. This is for my benefit as well. If this Rakshu managed to enslave a nightmare, he might be able to travel to the upworld. Who knows what chaos he will cause? Ivok nodded. Before you leave, please come back with me to the village. I'll introduce you to 2 of the villagers I've sent to scout the place. They should be able to give you a clearer picture regarding the situation around Ragshu's manor. Yvok gave Sol and Fyra a warm hug before he used his pipe to open the exit. Pandora said goodbye to the little ones in her own way, probably also reassuring the 2 that they would bring their mother back soon. The group went back to the village after coming out of the secret dimension. They saw the villagers gathering when they got near. Those villagers seemed agitated. When one of the gathering satyrs saw Yvok, he came running. "Yvok! Yvok!" he called out. Jack could hear the nervousness in his voice. "What's the matter?" Yvok asked. "It's Sayuro, it's Tenka and Yirin. They have left for Ragshu's manor. They said they will save Luna." "Those full Sayuro," Yvok cursed after hearing it. "They completely go against my wish. Don't worry. I will catch up with them on Pandora and bring them back," Jack said. Yvok turned to the satyr who had brought the news. "Did they take the hang gliders?" he asked. "They did," the satyr answered. "Hang gliders?" Jack asked. "It's a tool," Penuel explained. "It's a consumable item that allows fast aerial movement covering large distances." Yvok nodded. "The hang gliders we have are produced from a unique grade recipe. Their speed rival even a nightmare's speed. Even if you leave now, they will still reach the destination a few minutes earlier. Then I have no time to listen to your scouts. I will study the place myself after I arrive there. The most important is to catch up to the 2 and stop them from doing anything stupid. It will be troublesome if I have to end up saving 3 individuals." Yvok sighed. "I'm sorry to place this burden on you. It should have been our job as the Nightmare's custodians. Instead, we are being useless." "Don't say it like that. You have done a great job helping Pandora grow up. Without you, I wouldn't have met her. She had helped me greatly this past year. So, consider what I do now as my thanks for having taken care of Pandora." Jack climbed up to Pandora before continuing. "I don't think that son of yours will listen if I tell him to return here, so I hope you don't mind if I give him a bit of whooping." "You have my permission," Yvok said with a smile. Jack opened his map to see the direction of the coordinates Yvok had given him earlier. He pointed in a direction and said to Pandora, "Ma'am." Pandora didn't need Jack to ask her a second time. She dashed at once in the direction Jack pointed, leaving a trail of fire on the ground. Yvok looked at them disappear in the distance and prayed that all of them return safely. Based on what Yvok said, it took 1 day to reach Ragshu's manor. He hadn't had enough sleep since Pandora woke him up in the middle of the night and brought him to this underworld. So, he now lay on Pandora's body and shut his eyes. As long as Pandora didn't will it, he would magically attach to her body and won't fall off. It was also unlikely for the journey to get interrupted since her aura scared off half the monsters and the other half which were resistant to her aura mostly unable to chase her. So Jack slept without worry. All he had to bear was the discomfort of the constant movements of his makeshift bed. But he was too tired to be affected by that discomfort. He slept soundly as Pandora rushed at high speed. He woke up after half a day of sleep. It was not a good experience sleeping atop a running horse. Luckily, his body was a game body that didn't truly need a rest. He didn't feel any aches from the wrong sleeping position. It was his mind that required rest. Now that his mind was rested, he felt refreshed. Penuel informed him that they should have another 10 hours before they reached their destination. Jack spent the time practicing mana sense and mana manipulation while riding. The first few minutes he started practicing, he felt strange. The corrupted mana here was slightly different from the upworld mana. It felt heavier and stickier. It was easier to sense but harder to manipulate. Due to the difference, Jack decided to focus on practicing mana manipulation. Practicing mana manipulation here could be compared to people lifting weights to train their muscles. He figured his mana manipulation should be stronger if he could get used to doing it here. Jack continued practicing until Penuel told him that they were close to the coordinates. He was too focused on the training that he lost track of time. If Penuel didn't remind him, they might have arrived in Ragshu's manor without realizing it. They were around 1 hour away. They didn't see Tenka or Yirin on the way, which meant the two were still ahead of them. Jack told Pandora to not run directly to the coordinates. They couldn't afford to barge in the manor just like that. They first had to covertly check if there was a teleportation chamber inside the manor. When he saw some red dots at the edge of his radar in the direction they were heading, he instructed Pandora to stop. Pandora complied. Jack unsummoned her after dismounting. He suspected the red dots so close to the coordinates could be Raksha's goons patrolling the territory. It was better if the demons didn't spot another nightmare. On second thought, this could be a way to lure the guards out when he needed to sneak in. He might use this ploy later. Jack went on foot from there. He approached the red dots silently to get a look at them. Suddenly, two white dots came out of nowhere and met the red dots. He did not doubt who these two white dots were. He forfeited his silent approach and ran at full speed toward those clustering dots. As expected, when he got near, his dragon eyes that could see far objects identified Tenka and Yurin fighting a group of red-skinned demons. Tenka fought at close quarters using a large cleaver and buckler while Yurin supported from behind with her spells. One of her spells created shadow tentacles that whipped the demons and damaged them. These tentacles also entangled the demons if they tried to come near Yurin. The demon patrol consisted of 7 demons. Even when their number was more, it was evident that Tenka and Yurin were winning. The leader of the demon patrol realized this and shouted a command for 2 demons to retreat and warn the manor. 2 demons immediately removed themselves from the battle and ran in the direction of the manor. Tenka and Yurin tried to chase after the 2, but the remaining 5 forcefully blocked them. Jack, who was approaching them, changed direction after seeing the 2 fleeing demons. He used charge then followed by shooting dash, immediately putting the demons within his range after the 2 skills. He then executed Wind Slash and cast myriad venomous vipers at the same time. The Wind Slash damaged the demons and the 15 vipers burst from the ground and entangled them, preventing them from fleeing. While bound, Jack approached and finished the 2 demons. By that time, Tenka and Yurin had also vanquished the demons on their side. Jack came to them then. "Go back," Jack said to them. "Humph. You are the one who should leave. This has nothing to do with you," Tenka returned. Jack didn't speak another word. He instead lunged at Tenka, who was surprised by Jack's action. He reflexively lifted his buckler when Jack used Flame Strike. The impact sent Tenka flying back. He dropped to the ground and skidded a few meters before stopping. When he rose back up, his eyes showed disbelief. How could a level 66 Outworlder send him flying back like that? "You a Euro?" Yurin lifted her staff. "Stay out of this, Yurin. You know your father doesn't want you coming here," Jack said while walking past her. Tenka readied his cleaver and buckler at Jack, who was walking toward him. "Humph. Don't think you win just now, Outworlder. You simply caught me by surprise." Tenka ran forward. His satyr's goat legs gave him a higher movement speed than other races. He tried using this movement speed to confuse Jack. While doing that, he swung his cleaver. 10 slashing lights came at Jack following the swing. Jack lightly slashed. A straight line formed of light cut through all of Tenka's slashing lights, breaking them apart. Tenka could feel the unnatural power from that slash. Yet he also knew that it was not a skill. "You can't beat me," Jack said after showing off his one-word slash. "You will fail if you force yourself to infiltrate the manor. Don't get cocky, Outworlder. I'm higher level than you," Tenka exclaimed, and his body transformed. "Demonization," Penuel uttered. Tenka's brown-skinned satyr's body enlarged and changed to a red-skinned demon's body. 2 large bat wings grew on his back as his hands and hooves turned to claws. His large cleaver also burst with dark flame. This skill was Infernal Flame, the opposite of Paladin's Sacred Flame. "Die, Outworlder," Tenka exclaimed. Jack didn't back away from the intimidation. As Tenka's flaming cleaver came, Jack similarly transformed. His claw came forward and stopped Tenka's cleaver. Tenka tried to pull his cleaver away but was unable to. Jack's dragon claw was clutching the cleaver tight. Tenka was confused. The infernal flame from his cleaver should have damaged Jack continuously as long as Jack was touching his cleaver, but no damage number appeared. Jack had manipulated the mana to encase his claw that was grabbing the cleaver, protecting the infernal flame from damaging him. A humanoid dragon and a demon continued contesting strength as one tried to pull away while the other kept grabbing. Yurin was hesitant. Should she interfere? More demon patrols might come by. I say it again. You can't beat me, Jack said. Shut up. Tenka executed Shield Smash using the buckler in his left hand. It was a stronger version of Shield Bash and also had a chance to cause dizzy status. Jack easily dodged the smash using 8 diagram illusory steps. At the same time, he caught Tenka's arm that was holding the buckler. Utilizing the Shield Smash's momentum, Jack flipped Tenka upside down before slamming him into the ground. Jack then used the burst attack of his sword art. 96 instant slashes were unleashed, but none of them hit Tenka's body. Jack directed all the slashes and hit the ground beside Tenka. Even though Tenka didn't receive the slashes, he could feel the power of those slashes. The corrupted mana in the underworld allowed for easier sensing. So, most rare elites in the underworld could also sense mana. Tenka understood if all those 96 slashes landed on his body, he would be heavily wounded. Still want to continue? Jack asked as Tenka stood back up. Tenka looked at the slash marks on the ground. Each of them was deep. Jack used mana manipulation to enhance the damage of his sword art. After training continuously all this time, his control of mana had been refined. His half-day training under a corrupted mana environment had pushed his mana manipulation to undergo a long overdue breakthrough. The damage produced by his mana manipulation had now increased. Even though Tenka was still a rare elite, he understood the concept of mana manipulation. He knew that what Jack used just now was not a skill. He sensed the powerful mana accompanying each of Jack's slashes. He knew then that Jack's claim about he being unable to beat Jack was no empty boast. To reinforce his point, Jack summoned Thuras. The majestic beast stood beside him and stared at the two satyrs menacingly. Jack commanded Thuras to stay still so it didn't attack Tenka, who was considered hostile because of the fight just now. Seeing the mythical-grade beast, the two satyrs became even more speechless. Thuras had increased another level to level 63. Jack never stopped feeding it high-level pet food daily, so it continued to gain EXP points even if it was not summoned for battle. I admit I can't beat you, but I won't go back, Tenka exclaimed. Jack shook his head. Tenka was not so stubborn that he was not willing to admit defeat, but why did he still refuse to go back? Let me tell you, the reason your father doesn't want you involved in Luna's rescue is so that no one knows about the involvement of your village. Even if you successfully saved Luna, if any of you is sighted by the enemy, they will come to your village. You will just bring calamity to the others. We will make sure no one finds out, Tenka said. Really? Because if I didn't show up as I did, 2 demons would have made it back to the manor and alerted the demons inside. Unless you killed all the demons in that manor, someone will know about your involvement. Or do you think you can kill the 2 mythical grade bodyguards in that manor? You do know about those bodyguards, don't you? Tenka was silent. A frown creased his forehead, but he didn't show any sign of going back. Yurin came forward then. Mr. Stormwind, I'm sorry. We have to do this. This is our responsibility. Oh, Hayuro. Jack turned to Yurin. He thought that Yurin only came here because Tenka persuaded her. She seemed like an obedient child when Jack first met her. Calamity might befall our people if we were found out, but we also can't shy away from our role. If we do, then we don't have the right to be the custodians of the 2 little nightmares. If it is within our power, we have to see it through. Please don't send us back, but let us lend you our aid. I'm sure you are unfamiliar with this place. Your success chance will be better with our help than without. Jack didn't deny having the locals' help on site would be much more helpful, but he had told Yvok that he would bring these 2 back. If something happened to them, or worse, their village got targeted by the Underworld Empire, he would feel very bad about it. Please, we will not go back even if you told us to, Yurin uttered. We will go save Luna on our own. You will have to kill us if you want to stop us. It's either we do it separately or we work together. Jack saw the determination in her eyes. He looked at Tenka and saw the same eyes. He sighed and said, Fine. But you will have to listen to everything I say. Yiren and Tenka looked at one another before turning back to Jack and nodding their heads. Jack unsummoned their ass and said to the two, "We need to survey this place first. I need to have a better look at the manor." "We have already done that before you arrived," Yiren answered. "There is a high ground nearby where you can see the entire compound. Follow me." Jack followed her. The three moved while Jack paid attention to his radar to make sure there were no more patrols nearby. Yiren led him to a nearby hill with a rocky outcrop at its top. The three laid down atop that outcrop and looked down. Jack saw a single large building in the distance. That must be Ragshu's mansion. Around it was a ruined landscape. Traces of trees being cut down and the land being dug were evident. On that ruined landscape were many people who seemed to be working. They were cutting nearby trees and doing more digging. Some were using pickaxes to mine spots that Jack identified as ore deposits. There were lots of these ore deposits. "That place is a hidden mining site," Penuel said. "As they dug deeper, they will find more ore deposits for mining." "I see. That manor must have been built after they found this mining site." "The manor was also a base of operation," Jack conjectured. "Those workers down there don't seem compliant." Jack had seen several demon soldiers down there whipping the workers. The workers were also composed of different races. There were satyrs. There was a race that looked like lizard men but was smaller and had darker scales. Penuel identified them as kobolds. Then another race whose appearance was small humanoids with toad-like faces. Penuel called this race boggots. Penuel informed him that they were all considered the minor races of the underworld. Different from the upworld, which had 7 main races, the underworld only had one main race, the demons. All other races were considered minor and in most cases were slaves to the demon race. Jack studied the place. Only one main road led to the entrance of the manor. All other routes required him to pass through the worksite filled with workers and demon guards. He was most likely spotted whichever route he took. "What exactly is your plan before I arrive?" Jack asked Yiren and Tenka. "We plan to reduce the demon soldiers by taking out the patrols before going into the manor," Tenka said. Jack shook his head. "Too slow. They can just replenish the demon soldiers by requesting reinforcement from the city. Ragshu is the son of one of the kings of hell. I doubt he has problem requesting reinforcements if he finds some of his troops are missing." "So, what do you propose?" Yiren asked. Jack was silent as he continued studying the place. "First, we need to find out more information," Jack finally said. He had been thinking about using his incorporeal state mana sense to scout the place, but the mansion which was the target was too far. If he got closer, he faced the risk of getting stumbled over by patrolling demons when he was out of his body. He needed a more traditional approach. "Do you happen to know any of the satyrs that were working down there?" he asked Tenka and Yiren. "I can't tell. It's too far away to see clearly," Tenka said. "We did have some villagers missing," Yiren said. "Considering this place is not too far from our village, the missing ones may be among the captured here." "Let's go down to have a better look," Jack proposed. Although his dragon eye allowed him to be able to have a good look at the satyrs down there, he couldn't describe every satyr's appearance. Not to mention all of them looked almost the same to him. "Try to make as little noise as possible," Jack warned them. He was not worried about himself because of his ranger's silent step skill. "Don't worry," Penuel told Jack. "Satyrs had a natural ability that is similar to ranger's silent step." "I see. Good. But still, watch your steps and be aware of your surroundings," Jack said. "We will advance slowly. We go that way. I see more satyrs in that area." The others went down with Jack on the lead. Although Jack could move faster, he adjusted his pace so his two companions didn't have to move too fast. They hid behind a mound of soil from the ground that was dug nearby. They peeked out from there. Yiren and Tenka looked at the working satyrs while Jack watched the demon guard in charge of that section. When the guard was looking in their direction, he signaled Yiren and Tenka to hide. They continued using that method while moving to get a look at the other sections. Luckily, Yiren finally identified 2 of the satyrs that were working there. "Those are Uncle Yoki and his son, Watai," Yiren informed Jack. They had been missing from the village for around 2 weeks. So, they have been captured and taken here. Jack peeked out and looked at the 2 satyrs Yiren mentioned. He then looked at the demon guard. Luckily, only one guard was watching this area. Wait here, Jack commanded Yiren and Tenka. He didn't want the 2 to get identified by the captives here. Jack rushed out when the demon guard was looking the other way. With his speed, he was already close to the guard when the captives around started gasping and making noises after sighting him. The guard finally turned around after the commotion. Jack was running and casting at the same time. His magic bind spell was completed before the guard could react. He also used Sword of Light and Swords of the Brave back-to-back. 1 crescent light and 10 golden swords landed on the surprised demon guard. Jack followed with the burst attack of his sword art once arriving. The demon was just a level 55 special elite, so he was killed by the end of that burst attack. Without wasting a second, Jack came to the 2 satyrs mentioned by Yiren. His mana sense identified unusual mana on their anklets. He then noticed that every worker wore the same anklet. Jack surmised those must be some kind of a shackle that kept the workers tethered to this place. Jack slashed his sword and accurately struck the anklets without hurting the wearers. The anklets were not so sturdy. It broke after 1 slash. Jack immediately grabbed Yoki and Wutai and carried them while they were still confused. He had no problem carrying 2 satyrs with his strength. Some of the other workers called out, asking Jack to free them as well, but Jack ignored them. The other guards would soon come after the commotion. He couldn't stay for long. Jack summoned Pandora and then jumped onto her with the 2 satyrs on his shoulders. Pandora then rode away. Jack had asked Yiren and Tenka to retreat to the rocky outcrop atop the hill and waited for him there. Pandora rode in another direction before Jack unsummoned him, and then ran to the hill still carrying the 2 satyrs. If the guards came following Pandora's flaming trail, they would head in a different direction. Arriving on the outcrop, Yoki and Wutai, who was still confused, finally saw familiar faces. They called Yiren and Tenka in relief. However, an outburst from Tenka caused them to freeze. They then realized Tenka's outburst wasn't directed at them. "What did you do?" Tenka shouted at Jack. "You let them see Pandora. The workers will surely tell the demons, and this will make them search around for another nightmare. They might widen their search and come to our village. I did it intentionally. It is needed for my next plan to infiltrate the manor," Jack returned. "You will have to move your village away anyway after we rescue Luna. They will still come searching when that happens. The most important thing is that they don't identify you too, so they won't have a specific target. As long as all of you moved away, you should be fine." Tenka contemplated after hearing Jack. He didn't consider what will happen after they saved Luna. No way the Underworld Empire would just stay idle if they succeeded in doing what they wanted to do here. "Let's deal with the current issue first," Jack said and turned to the satyrs he had just rescued. "Yoki and Wutai, is it?" Jack asked, to which the 2 nodded. "How long have you been forced to work down there?" The older satyr made a pondering expression while the younger one said, I think it's 2 weeks already. We're not sure how long we have been taken. It has been 15 days since we last saw you too," Yiren informed. "What happened?" "We are taken by the demons when we area Euro." Wutai stopped when Jack waved for him to stop. "You can chat later. Right now, we don't have much time. We need to limit our discussion to only the essential information," Jack said. He then pointed to the mansion at the center of Ragshu's manor. "Are you allowed inside that building?" Yes, we rest inside there after our shift," Yoki answered. "Which part of the building?" Jack asked. "The one at the right side of the main entrance. See the walls with many doors on the side. The rooms behind those doors have many bunk beds inside," Wutai said. "Did you go to the other parts of that mansion?" "No, we stay inside the rooms with bunk beds if we are not working outside." "Do you know how many demon guards are inside the mansion?" Yoki and Wutai looked at one another before Yoki answered with uncertainty. €100, I think? Same as what Yvok mentioned, Jack thought. In this case, that number should not be far from the truth. "Do you often see new demons?" For example, one that you haven't seen the days before, Jack asked. Or demons that you often see, but never saw again in the following days. Yoki and Wutai looked at each other again before Yoki answered, I can't truly tell since most of the demons look alike, but Wutai added, however, I once overheard the demon guards talking about a demon mage being sent here during the first few days of our capture. Then a few days later, I saw that demon mage. I can tell because she wore a different attire than the other demons. Do you see her come in by land? Jack asked. Wutai shook his head. Maybe she rolled in when you two were resting inside the building? Jack said. No, the satyrs in the other shift said that the demon mage also didn't come during their shift. We talked about it since there was nothing much to talk about. We were wondering how she suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This confirms the existence of a teleportation chamber inside the mansion, Jack thought. Have you ever seen the Hell Baron who lives inside the mansion? Jack asked. Yoki and Wutai shook their heads. Mayuro, do you know where he lives inside the mansion? We don't. But some of the satyrs who are in charge of cleaning the interior mentioned that some areas inside the mansion are forbidden. So, I guess one of those areas must be where the Hell Baron resided. Jack's ears perked up after listening. Can you tell me which parts of the mansion are forbidden? He asked. I can only tell you what I heard. I can't be sure whether it's true or not, Wutai informed. One of the forbidden parts that I heard of is the 4th floor of the mansion, which is also the top floor. Then the opposite end to the main entrance on the ground floor. The last one is on the left wing of the 3rd floor. For reference, the place where we stayed is the right wing, Yoki added. Thank you very much. The two of you have been of great help, Jack said. You finish questioning them? Yurin asked Jack. Jack nodded. They sent a squad to make a search. Tenka, who had been monitoring the activity below, told them. Jack crawled over and had a peek. He saw around 10 demon soldiers going in the direction where he had ridden away on Pandora. Good. This confirmed the demon's interest in capturing a second nightmare. Jack thought. Can the two of you return to Pylenus village by yourselves? Jack asked Yoki and Wutai. The two nodded. Then go, Jack told them. We still have things to do here. It's not safe for you to stay with us. That demon squad down there goes in another direction. You shouldn't encounter them by going in the village's direction. Thank you, sir, for saving us. We will not forget it. Jack told them not to mention it and the two started running away. So, what's your plan? Yurin asked Jack. I will explain it together with the others. The others? While Yurin was puzzled, Jack took out his king badge and summoned his royal agents. He called all 5 of them. Duke Alfredo and Jonathan stayed at the same level as he last saw them. After separating from Jack, the 3 rookies returned to Genie's arranged power level teams. They had increased another level. Lindsay was level 51. Amy and Jonathan were level 47. When the 5 appeared, they were bewildered when they found the place they were summoned to. Among the 5, Duke Alfredo and Howard were the most surprised. This was because they could sense the difference in the atmosphere. Howard was a mythical grade, so his sensitivity to mana was better than the others. As for Duke Alfredo, he was the most experienced and had dabbled in magic for a long time. He also joined Doman's training session for the Kingdom soldiers. He had started to develop mana sense. Where is this place? Alfredo asked after sensing the unusual mana around them. We are in the underworld, Jack answered. Una euro underworld a euro? You are shitting us, right? Jonathan asked. When he saw Jack give him the I'm serious expression, he said, Damn it, I have said it before. There is never a dull moment with you, Your Majesty. Your Majesty? Yurin asked. I am a king in one of the countries in the upworld, Jack told her. You didn't notice my crown? Your crown is different from the ones our kings here wore, Yurin replied. Okay, people. I got a plan and I need everyone's help. Jack addressed his royal agents. First, he explained the current situation to them. Afterward, he described his plan. You didn't make this arrangement to stop us from going inside the manor, did you? Tenka asked after hearing about the plan. In the plan, Jack infiltrated the manor by himself. You promised to listen to my orders, didn't you? If you have a better plan, I'm all ears, Jack said. There is a high chance that there is a teleportation chamber inside that mansion. We need to destroy it before we go into a direct conflict with the Hell Baron, and we most likely will because I believe Luna will be where the Hell Baron is. We can't risk Mammon arriving while we are still here. To do that, we need to go in and find this teleportation chamber covertly. I have the highest damage value. I also have mythical-grade helpers in case I met the mythical-grade bodyguards inside the manor. Most of all, I believe I have better experience in infiltration missions. The experience Jack mentioned was one he gained from playing stealth games, but they didn't need to know about that. All right, let's go with your plan, Tenka said. Jack first divided them into 4 teams. Duke Alfredo summoned his Azura and became the first team. Jonathan and Lindsay were on the second team. Yurin and Howard formed the third. Tenka and Amy were the fourth. The 4 teams then sneaked out and took positions at different sides of the manor. In the meantime, Jack summoned Pandora and told her of his plan. She was very complying since it was for the sake of rescuing her sister. After making sure Pandora understood, Jack sneaked down to near the main street heading to the manor's entrance. Jack hid behind a large boulder and waited. Not long after, Pandora ran through the front of the manor. Her blazing trail was hard to miss. But just to make sure that the demons saw her, she stopped and stood there gazing at the manor's entrance. The demons who guarded the entrance were immediately riled up. They made lots of sounds. As they did, more demons came out of the mansion. They then started running toward Pandora. Some of them carried some kind of nets that seemed to be made of fire. Penuel said that those fire nets were tools to capture fire-based creatures. It was sturdy and won't get burned by a nightmare's flame. Ragshu had managed to capture Luna most likely due to these fire nets. The demons started swinging their nets around like they were lassos. Pandora let them come close enough that they threw the nets at her, which caused Jack to worry. But before the fire nets arrived, she was gone already. Damn it, ma'am. Do you have to cut it so close? Jack cursed within. Pandora ran away from the manor, but not at her fastest speed. The demons chased after her. More demons came out of the manor and joined the pursuing party. Jack sent a mental message to his royal agents then, who commenced with their tasks. All 4 teams attacked the demons who guarded the slave workers. None of the demon guards were rare elite. There were also not too many of them, so it was not a problem for Alfredo and the rest. In a short time, they took care of the demon guards and started destroying the shackles that held the slave workers. They instructed the workers they had freed to run away while they continued dispatching the demon guards and saving more workers. As more and more workers fled, the demons inside the mansion finally noticed. An alarm was sounded. More demons came out and rushed in every direction to capture the fleeing workers. The 4 teams hid again as these demons came out. After the pursuing demons passed them by, they came out and ambushed the demons from the rear. The demons at the back turned back and fought the ambushers while the ones in front ignored the ambush. They continued pursuing the fleeing workers. Jack had reminded Tenka and Yurin to continue staying hidden during this phase. If they wanted to join the fight, they had to ensure they killed the demons who saw them. Jack hoped the 2 listened to his instructions. Once no more demons came out from the mansion, Jack ran to the entrance. He figured the mansion should be mostly empty by now, allowing him more ease in searching for the teleportation chamber. As he neared the main door, he saw several red dots coming from inside the mansion. One of them was even slightly larger and darker than the other red dots. Jack hurriedly looked around and located a part of the wall that had recesses. He hurriedly hid inside one of those recesses. Luckily, this place was mostly dark due to the dark sky. The shadow meld ability of his cloak of shadow soon turned him invisible just as the door opened. From inside, a few demons walked out, including a tall demon in light armor. He had 2 large and sleek bat wings on his back. His skin was dark green instead of the usual red. Jack used his inspect and found that this winged demon was classified as a high demon. This high demon was one of Ragshu's mythical grade bodyguards. He was level 67 and went by the name of Zelverath. The first thing Zelverath did after walking out of the door was look in Jack's direction. Luckily, Jack knew about the mythical grade's sensitivity to mana. He had applied mana concealment once he hid inside the recess, erasing his presence. Zelverath did sense something when coming out of the door, but that sensation was gone now. "Sir, what should we do? Should we chase after this other nightmare, or should we chase after the slaves?" A demon asked Zelverath. Zelverath stopped gazing in Jack's direction and replied, "You all go chase the slaves. I will deal with the nightmare." After saying his piece, his large bat wings flapped. The air around him exploded as he shot into the sky. The demons around him were blasted by that air explosion and fell. None of them showed any discontent. They rose and then went in different directions to pursue the slaves. "That mythical demon is very fast. Will Pandora be okay?" Jack asked Penuel, who hid inside her hidden dimension. "Don't worry. She is a smart nightmare. She should know when to retreat," Penuel replied. When Jack was explaining the plan, Jack told Pandora to just unsummon herself if she was in a pinch. This was one of the perks of having an owner. Unless the enemies used a tool or a spell that stopped her from unsummoning herself, she should be okay. Jack just hoped that she didn't let the mythical grade get too close. That demon surely had a restraining skill that might prevent Pandora from unsummoning herself. Jack didn't have the time to worry about others. He had his own task to take care of. After checking his radar and making sure no one was near the mansion's entrance, he came out of hiding and entered through the door. That door was not locked with so many demons coming and going frequently. He came into a luxurious foyer. He had no time to admire the interior, so he just headed to the first forbidden area mentioned by Wutai. The forbidden area on this ground floor was at the opposite end of the entrance. He studied his radar. Some red dots were still inside this mansion, but he couldn't tell if they were on the ground floor or the upper floors. He chose the path that was more vacant and ran toward the opposite end. Jack remembered that the underworld demon had a natural shadow meld ability, so he didn't trust his eyes and depended more on his radar. Due to his radar, this stealth mission became much easier because he knew which section was empty. But most of all, it was because his ploy had drawn out most of the demons that he could now move freely inside this mansion. He looked around at the walls and the ceiling while he ran. Penuel asked what was he looking for. Jack answered that he was looking if there were signs of rune diagrams. If there was, it would be troublesome. Luckily, this mansion didn't have one. Without obstacles, he arrived soon at the door of what was supposed to be one of the forbidden places. Considering that it was a forbidden room, the door was of course locked. "Damn it! Do I have to waste time doing lock-picking?" he cursed. He had a large stock of lockpicks, but the attempt would take some time. "You can try hitting it," Penuel said. "There are never indestructible items. It's just whether you are strong enough or not. Some things are more durable than others, as you should know since you have broken a few structures in the past. For one that is more durable, if your strength is not enough, your attacks will just produce 0 damage, which makes it appear indestructible. At your current level, you already have enough strength where you should be able to break locked doors." "Really?" Jack tried hitting the door. True enough, damage numbers appeared and an health point bar above the door was seen. The damage number was small though, and only a very tiny portion of the health point bar was reduced. "This takes quite some time," Jack said, but he figured it should still be faster than using lockpicks. Although this was a good chance to increase his lockpicking skill, he was currently short on time. He had to destroy the teleportation chamber and saved Luna before the horde of demons returned. Jack sent hits rapidly to the door. Each hit produced a banging sound. Luckily, no demons nearby to hear the sound. If there was, then using lockpicks was the safer option. After more than a minute of hitting the door, it finally broke. Not teleportation chamber, Jack thought. It was some sort of a warehouse. Jack was about to leave when his god-eye monocle registered something with a silver marking. Silver was the color of a unique grade item. This made Jack enter the room and the markings in his monocle lit up. The room was full of silver color markings. "Holy euro," Jack uttered as he picked one of these marked things. It was a small rock. Adamantine Oregon. It's a unique grade blacksmith material. Jack looked around the room. Probably hundreds of these ores filled the room among other common-looking ores. Maybe these are what they were mining outside, Penuel said. Without delay, Jack scooped up these rocks and transferred them into his inventory. Even though he had limited time, he supposed he could risk a bit for these unique-grade materials. Penuel said that this ore was required when one started to level up the equipment from level 80 to above. No wonder this place is forbidden. Hee. This will help me cut down the materials I use using my transformation prism. Jack only took the adamantine ores. There were also uncommon and rare-grade ores, but he didn't waste the time picking those up. He still knew how to restrain himself. He had other objectives here. During the chore, he noticed a purple color marking on one of the items in the room. A legendary grade, he uttered and went to the marked item. It was a small lockbox. Uhayuro Penuel. Can I hit this lockbox to break it like the door? Jack asked. He had no time for lockpicking this lockbox, but a legendary item like this was too tempting to let go. Lockboxes or chests are typically more durable than locked doors, but as long as your strength is high enough, you should be able to. However, breaking a lockbox or chest is highly likely to destroy the items inside. So, you will end up with nothing instead. I believe in my luck stat, Jack said and lifted his sword. Hold a euro, Penuel shouted. I've not yet finished talking. Lockbox is different from a treasure chest. You can't move a treasure chest around, but you can with a lockbox. Oh, you mean a euro? Jack grabbed the small lockbox and picked it up. He then transferred it into his inventory. Yeah, you can just slowly lockpick it later, Penuel said. Do note, however, that when treasure chests give you lots of items, lockboxes only give one or a maximum of 2 items. At this moment, I prefer less, but I can get it rather than more, but I have to leave it, Jack said. He then quickly finished cleaning up the adamantine ores in the room. It was a much easier task with the help of the markings from his monocle. He collected around 300 adamantine ores. He swept around the room to make sure there were no more silver or purple color objects before leaving through the broken door. He had seen the stairs that led up to the second floor on his way here, so he ran there now. Using the stairs, he ran directly to the third floor. Based on Wuxia's information, the second floor had no forbidden area. Arriving on the third floor, he first got his bearing to make sure which way was the left wing before heading over there. He again paid attention to his radar and avoid any of the scarce red dots. A white dot was also seen, which was most likely the captured nightmare. With that white dot on his radar, he would know which way to go later. But first, he had to find the teleportation chamber. He quickly found the locked door that was on the left wing of the mansion. Luckily again, there was no red dot nearby this section, so it was safe for him to make a little noise. He chopped at the door and shaved its health point bar little by little. This door was sturdier than the warehouse. Took him a bit longer to destroy. When the door broke, he saw the familiar contraption of a teleportation chamber. Yes, Jack exclaimed. Thank goodness everything has been easy. He then slapped his head. Oops. Usually, things take a turn after I said that. He looked at his radar, making sure no red dots happened to move in his direction. Relieved that everything was still fine, he went into the chamber. The teleportation device was a large round platform with a glowing power stone hung directly above it. That power stone was the device's power source. So, destroying the stone would cripple the teleportation device. Jack used Sword of Light. His crescent light hit the power stone. A damage number appeared accompanied by an health point bar. He estimated this power stone was sturdier than the door he just broke. He was just about to cast Soar to reach the power stone when that stone suddenly glowed. A demon wearing a robe then appeared at the center of the platform. Jack and the demon were frozen as they looked at one another for a second. True. The demon started shouting but was cut midway when Jack's boot came into his face. The kick using mana manipulation sent the demon flying to the wall. Jack followed by using fast spells. He cast Ice Bullet and Electric Bolts, keeping the demon frozen and paralyzed while he approached. He then battered the demon with fast slashes. The demon was only a special elite, so his health point was drained at a fast rate. However, the demon proved to be one with a solid concentration. Despite Jack's non-stop slashes, he could still cast a spell. His speed of casting was also not slow. He finished his first spell and a barrier enveloped his body. He then proceeded with a second spell, which spell formation contained 5 runes. Jack recognized the runic symbols from the spell formation. It was Warlock's hellish explosion. He wasn't worried about the spell. He was able to tank this explosion even without his defensive skills. He continued to deliver punishments on the demon, trying to finish him as fast as possible. When the demon was on the brink of death, the demon completed his spell. Jack braced himself for the explosion, but his mana sense didn't detect any incoming one. He then heard a loud explosion from behind. The demon had targeted his spell outside the chamber. The demon's purpose was not to injure Jack, but to alert the other demons in this mansion. Shit! Jack cursed as he delivered the final blow that killed the demon. He saw the few red dots on his radar, which were static a moment ago, now rushing in his direction. He had to act fast. He took out his companion token and summoned Arlcard. Arlcard was now level 68, 1 level higher than when he left after the incident with the archdemon. As a mythical grade, he immediately detected the abnormality of the mana. Before he asked about the mana, Jack spoke first. "We are in the underworld. No time to explain. This is currently an emergency. Use your Sonata of the Night to hinder anyone from entering this room. Then quickly destroy that power stone. Afterward, kill any demons that you see." Finished speaking, Jack rushed out of the room. Arlcard didn't dilly-dally. The fog that was the signature of Arlcard's Sonata of the Night soon filled the space outside the teleportation chamber. Jack also heard the sound of Arlcard starting to assault the power stone. The stairs to the 4th floor were behind a locked fence. Jack had passed by that fence, and it was not far from where the teleportation chamber was located. He rushed over and then hid in a corner near the stairs. Despite his agitated state, he slowed his breathing and urged his heartbeat to slow. He was using the mana concealment technique again as his cloak of shadow turned him invisible. Jack saw the fence to the stairs open and 4 demons appeared. 2 were winged high demons and the other 2 were wingless regular demons. His inspect informed him that one of the high demons was the Hell Baron, Ragshu. He was a weak level 60 special elite, but Jack didn't dare do anything to him yet. It might cause his father, Mammon, to teleport here before Arlcard destroyed the teleportation device. The 2 regular demons were level 70 special elites. Nothing to worry about. It was the other high demon who posed a problem. A level 70 mythical demon by the name of Algerad. The 4 weren't aware of Jack's presence. They turned to where the explosion had been heard and headed there. They left the fence open, which Jack was thankful for. The 4 passed by Jack's position. Jack waited until they encountered Arlcard's spell before he jumped out of hiding and then summoned his wolves, his spirit weapon, and their ass. Jack gave them a brief instruction before turning around and heading to the stairs. Thuras, the spirit weapon, and the 10 wolves rushed toward the 4 demons. They were to hinder the demons with the help of Arlcard's fog until Arlcard finished dealing with the teleportation chamber. Jack gave them a strict order to not touch Ragshu. The 10 wolves ran forward and attacked the 2 special elite demon guards. They also ran around Ragshu, confusing him without attacking him. Thuras used its tyrannical charge and slammed into Algerad, who was surprised to find a strong enemy was suddenly behind them inside this manner. The spirit weapon supported Thuras and the wolves with ranged attacks. While his minions were keeping those demons occupied, Jack ran up the stairs and arrived on the 4th floor. He was greeted with an enormous hall full of luxurious furniture and decorations. He didn't have the time to admire them. He checked the position of the white dot on his radar. There was another red dot near that white dot. Jack was not worried. This red dot was normal color, which meant it was not higher than his power level. A single same-level enemy won't give him much trouble. He rushed over to their positions. Fortunately, the room he was heading to was not blocked by locked doors or other obstacles. He crossed through an opening in a wall and entered another large hall. This hall had rune diagrams all around its walls and ceiling. They were flaring with dark light, and tendrils of energy could be seen coming out of them and flowing to the center of the hall. At the center of the hall, a nightmare was being wrapped by these tendrils of dark light. The dark light wound around her body and slowly seeped into her orifices. She was struggling but appeared weak. The flame that usually burned around a nightmare was not seen. She looked like a simple horse with dark red skin. Jack used his inspect and confirmed that the bound nightmare was Luna. A Humana Euro? An Outworlder Humana Euro? Jack heard a feminine voice from the demon who stood not far from the flameless nightmare in captivity. She was the lone red dot staying near the white dot. She was wearing a mage robe. She was probably the demon mage Wuxia mentioned in his story. Jack used inspect on her. Her name was Soccer. She was a level 72 rare elite demon. Her level was higher than his, but Jack believed he could take her on with no problem. "How can you be here on this plane?" Soccer asked. Next to her was a floating dark red orb that seemed to be swirling with strange flames. Jack sensed a similar aura to Pandora from that orb. Jack didn't bother conversing with the demon. His mission was to save Luna, which meant taking out her demon captor. Jack used Wind Slash. 5 wind energies rushed to Soccer. Soccer's one hand remained close to the orb, while she put her other hand to her front. The air in front of her was distorted. When the 5 wind energies came, they vanished within the distorted air. What a euro! Jack's surprise turned to shock when he sensed strange mana movement at his back. He then sensed his wind energies from there. He immediately used roll just as the 5 wind slashes hit the floor where he stood a moment ago. Displace? Jack asked. Displace was Mage Knight's level 45 skill that was able to redirect range attacks. No. Whatever she did just now, it wasn't a skill, Peniel said. You are right, Soccer said. A wand appeared in her hand and she cast a fireball spell. Jack used Flame Slash and destroyed the fireball. He then shot Ice Bullet, Electric Bolts, and Tracing Beams back to back. As the numerous projectiles came at Soccer, the air again distorted around her. All of Jack's projectiles disappeared before they could hit the demon mage. Jack then sensed the mana around him stirred again. Jack's projectiles came out of empty air and headed to him from multiple directions. He had to use his 8-diagram illusory steps to evade them all. It truly is not a skill. It got no cooldown a euro. How did she do that? Jack asked. I don't know. Probably that strange orb a euro. I think she is harnessing the nightmare's power using that orb, Peniel said. A nightmare had the power to cross over planes. Perhaps she modifies it using that orb to give her the ability to bend space. Haha. Hi fairy, you are rather knowledgeable. Let me capture you and study your mind. Soccer laughed. You think you will win just because I can't hit you with ranged attacks? Think again, Jack exclaimed as he activated Strength of the Wild and Life-Burning Art. His stats greatly increased. He used Shooting Dash. Within an instant, he was already in front of Soccer. Soccer was startled by Jack's speed. She didn't expect this lower-level Outworlder to be this fast. But she wasn't someone who easily panicked. She tapped into the orb's power. When Jack's sword came slashing, she vanished. She then appeared some distance away. What a euro! Jack looked over to where Soccer was now. She not only can displace ranged attacks, she can teleport herself as well, Peniel said. Soccer was grinning as she cast her spell. A group of flame spears shot at Jack. Jack also cast a spell. He completed the casting of teleportation when Soccer's flame spears arrived. He teleported to right beside Soccer. But when he slashed his sword, she again disappeared and appeared somewhere else in the hall. Damn it! This is like she had a teleportation spell with no cooldown, Jack cursed. He couldn't catch up to her in melee due to her constant teleporting. All his ranged attacks were returned. He had no way to defeat her. Soccer continued throwing her spells at him. All Jack could do was just defend and dodge. While Jack was out of ideas, he heard a loud explosion from downstairs. The place also shook heavily. Was that explosion from the teleportation chamber getting destroyed or something else? Jack thought. While he was wondering, Pandora suddenly appeared beside him. Another nightmare? Soccer uttered with amazement. Great! If we can catch you as well. Pandora was staring at Luna once she appeared. She had sensed it when Jack came near Luna. That's why she unsummoned herself from the cat and mouse game with the demons. Although the mythical grade Zelverath was fast, it was not easy to catch a speeding nightmare. After unsummoning herself, Pandora summoned herself out to Jack's side. Seeing her sister's miserable condition, Pandora stomped her foot and neighed loudly. The flames on her blazed with wild abandon. Even Jack, who was normally immune to her flame, felt strong heat from those blazing flames. Pandora then turned to Soccer. Her eyes suddenly turned white. It was only a split second, but she suddenly reeled back while shouting, "Away from my mind, Euro!" Jack immediately saw it as a chance and fired Mana Beam. He must admit he was amazed by Soccer's swiftness, though. Even though she had just suffered a mind attack, she was still fast enough to manipulate the power orb. She managed to displace the beam just a short instant before it hit. The beam came back next to Jack, at an angle that should hit both him and Pandora. Jack had warned Pandora when he saw the air distortion before his mana beam hit, so the two successfully dodged the beam. Pandora looked at the orb in Soccer's hand before turning to Luna. She then ran to Luna. "What are you, Euro?" Soccer was puzzled by Pandora's act. Pandora arrived before Luna and then stomped her feet hard. Her flame wrapped around Luna. It could not free her from the dark light that surrounded her, but what she did also stopped Luna's power from seeping out. Jack saw the floating power orb next to Soccer turn dim. The flames that used to swirl around it were also gone. Euro! Get away from her! Soccer yelled and fired dark energies from her wand. Those dark energies were destroyed midway as Jack stood between her and the two nightmares. Jack was grinning. "Let's see how you fare now without that space-bending power." Without her ability to displace and teleport, Soccer was not Jack's opponent. She was 6 levels higher than Jack, but Jack was able to go against multiple rare elites of the same level at the same time. So, fighting only one rare elite with a slightly higher level was not a problem for him. Jack must admit, though, this Soccer was stronger than the average rare elite. Jack even had a feeling that she had a mana sense ability. Even so, after a few clashes, Soccer was aware that she was not Jack's opponent. She wasn't able to keep Jack at bay. Jack was simply too fast. She had no problem concentrating in a melee, but it was still very disadvantageous for her to fight in a melee. Her expressions showed that she wanted to retreat but was unwilling to. She kept on glancing at the dim orb floating beside her. Jack was aware then that the orb might not follow her if she left. Perhaps because it was tethered to Luna at the center of this hall. Not like Jack was going to let her leave. Anyway, Jack increased his pace to quickly defeat this demon mage before the others came, so he could work on saving Luna. "Damn you, Outworlder! I will get you back for Euro!" Soccer yelled. She had been preparing a 6-rune spell, Flame Wrath. Multiple large fireballs came out and chased after Jack. Jack jumped back before using Swords of the Brave. The 10 golden swords destroyed 10 of the fireballs, and Jack used his slashes to destroy the rest. While he was doing that, Soccer took out a small red stone. Jack used Charge and returned to Soccer's side just as she was enveloped by red light. She then vanished when Jack's sword came slashing. Ha! Jack was unable to sense where she had moved to. His radar also didn't show any red dot appearing in its scope. "That was a displacement stone she used," Penuel informed. "She is gone already. The stone is a unique grade consumable. It teleports its user a large distance away even during combat. The direction is random. Even the user won't know where she ends up at. It is a pure escape tool. She must know that she can't outrun me with normal means," Jack said, which was true. Even if Jack didn't use any movement skills, he could easily catch up with her slow-moving speed if she tried running to the stairs. Since the demon mage was gone, Jack didn't dwell on her. He turned back and ran to where Luna and Pandora were. Now that he was closer and was allowed to focus his attention, he could sense the mana tendrils from the rune diagrams were locking Luna in that spot. "I suppose Dispel is not strong enough for those rune diagrams?" Jack asked. "No. You need greater Dispel," Penuel said. "You can try working on the diagrams, though." They are a bit more complex than the one you solved when you freed Pandora. But with your current level of mana sense, you should be able to undo the binding. I can, but it will take time. We don't know how long before other enemies arrive, Jack said. As he was saying that, he heard a crash from outside. He looked through the opening to the outside hall and saw the familiar green-skinned demon standing near a broken window. Speaking of the Demoniuro, Jack muttered. After Pandora vanished, Zelverath flew around the place to search for the missing nightmare. But a loud explosion from the direction of the manor drew his attention. He quickly flew back. Zelverath saw a huge hole in the wall of the 3rd floor. He also saw signs of conflict there, but he decided to go to the 4th floor first before checking out the 3rd floor. He directly crashed through the window of the 4th floor. He was very surprised to find the Hell Baron was not present. Instead, it was a human intruder with the nightmare he had been chasing a while ago. "You a Euro outworlder. How did you enter this place?" Zelverath said as he walked over. Jack prepared himself. He transformed into his supreme dragon form. He had been saving it if he had to face a mythical-grade opponent. But Zelverath suddenly turned to the side when a shadow crashed into him. This shadow zipped around at a very fast speed. Zelverath was caught unprepared by the ambush. Damage numbers over damage numbers appeared every time the shadow swept past him. "Arlcard," Jack called. The shadow turned into Arlcard. Spell formation was seen at the tip of his crimson rapier. A gigantic black sword soon appeared. The Dark Lord's sword flew toward Zelverath, who had used the pause to erect a protective stone shield. The black sword stabbed into the shield. Zelverath was unable to stop the sword's momentum. He was pushed until he hit the wall at the far end. His stone shield was finally split in two after being unable to move back any further. The black sword continued and stabbed into Zelverath, delivering huge dark damage. Zelverath roared in fury as he grabbed the 2 sticks strapped to his back. Blades came out of the sticks' 2 ends, forming 2 twin blades. The vampire and the demon then exchanged moves using their weapons. Arlcard seemed to be at an advantage. Arlcard was 1 level higher, and Penuel once mentioned that Arlcard was an exceptional native who was generally stronger than the average natives of the same level and grade. Jack wasn't worried about their fight. He considered helping Arlcard to speed up the battle. But he looked back at Luna again. He saw the pleading look from Pandora. It was a rare sight from this aloof nightmare. Jack considered unraveling the rune diagrams. But if he started it, he couldn't stop the process midway. Or else he and Luna would receive a backlash. However, with a battle happening so close, he thought it was too high a risk. The battle could unexpectedly come his way and force him to stop. After thinking for a bit, he said to Pandora, "Stay here with her. I will be back soon." Jack then flew out of the hall and headed to the stairs. "What are you planning?" Penuel asked while Jack was flying down the stairs. "I need an assurance that no enemies will come near me when I work on the rune diagrams," Jack answered. "So, how will you get that assurance?" Jack arrived on the 3rd floor below. He was immediately greeted by the battle down there. His spirit weapon, all of his wolves, and the 2 demon guards had already died. Thuras was alone fighting Algerad and Ragshu. It was mostly Algerad fighting Thuras. Ragshu just stood a safe distance away because he was just a special elite. If only he knew that Jack asked Thuras to not touch him, he need not be that careful. There was a huge hole in the wall. Jack wondered if that was caused by his spirit weapon's finishing mode. That might have been the loud explosion he heard earlier. Algerad fought using a giant flaming axe. Thuras was losing because Algerad was many levels higher. But Thera's health point was very high due to Jack's max-level tame pet skill. Added to Thera's high defense from its armor, it was not easy taking Thuras down. Jack sneaked near Thuras and executed combination assault. The assault took Algerad by surprise. Algerad was sent tumbling back as a result. Jack then used Ultimate Beast and cast Accelerate, turning Thuras into its sovereign mode and increasing both their speed. With the enhanced speed, Jack used Lightning God Barrage and Soul Breath while Thuras shot its Earth Core Bomb. The combined attacks caused a huge explosion, creating a second hole in the wall. Jack then used his Beast Monarch's first skill, Gigantify pet Thuras grew to twice its size. Its head scraped the ceiling. Its overall attributes were greatly enhanced. Jack believed his pet would have no problem going against the higher-level opponent with all these buffs. He then left Thuras to keep Algerad busy. He turned back and headed to Ragshu. The Hell Baron panicked when he saw this dragon man come at him. He had been casting some spells and shooting standard attacks from a range at Thuras, but the damage he caused wasn't much to speak of. He was now shooting his attacks at Jack. Jack flew in a zigzag pattern, dodging the projectiles. He was still affected by acceleration, so he was very fast. In a short time, he was already upon the Hell Baron. Jack unleashed his offensive skills in conjunction with his sword art, quickly reducing Ragshu's health point. Algerad! Save me a euro! Ragshu shouted in a panic. Algerad, who heard his lord's panicked voice, tried to push through Thuras. But Thuras in its sovereign and gigantify mode could not be easily pushed aside. Algerad was unable to come to Ragshu's aid. When Ragshu's health point fell to a critical level, he yelled in desperation, "Stop! Stop a euro! Do you know who my father is? You will never have a peaceful life if you kill me." "I know who your father is," Jack answered. "But don't get too excited, Demon Prince. I'm not killing you yet, but I will if you don't follow my words." Jack grabbed Ragshu by the neck. Ragshu's health point was so low that one attack was enough to kill him. He then yelled at the mythical demon who was still fighting Thuras. "Algerad, is it? Stop your fighting if you want your liege to live." Algerad stopped after hearing Jack. Jack also commanded Thuras to stop. He didn't want any sudden incident for his plan. A chaotic battle was a recipe for sudden incidents. "Let's move upstairs," Jack said. Algerad followed under the heavy gaze of Thuras. Arriving upstairs, Jack gave the same ultimatum to Zelverath. The demon was secretly relieved of his opponents stopping the battle. He was losing to Arlcard. "Now everyone stays cool. No one does any sudden things, or this demon prince is a goner. Does everyone understand?" Jack said to both Algerad and Zelverath. The two demons didn't give any response, but they were also as still as statues. So Jack assumed they got the message. Jack asked Arlcard to approach and took over grabbing Ragshu. "If any of them tries anything funny, finish him," Jack said. Jack then walked to where Luna was bound. Pandora was still by her side. Jack studied the rune diagrams using his mana sense as he tried to figure out a way to unravel the binding. "This is difficult to Euro, but I think I should be able to undo the binding in less than 2 hours," Jack said. Hee Euro, they heard a laugh. Strangely, it came from Ragshu. It seemed that the fear he felt a moment ago was gone now. "So, you are trying to save that nightmare. Ha ha ha. You are doomed. 2 hours? You will be dead already in 1 hour." "What do you mean?" Jack asked him. "Hee. In 1 hour, my father will arrive. I've already activated the beacon that called him some time ago. You will wish that you are dead when he arrives," Ragshu said. "If you are smart, you let me go and leave right now. I will forget your sin of attacking me and destroying my home." "What about the sin of killing your guards?" Jack said. "They are inconsequential. You can kill them for all I care," Ragshu replied. "What about the sin of freeing all the slaves you have out there?" Jack asked again. This time, Ragshu didn't say anything. He stared at Jack with a frown. "What about the sin of stealing all your adamantine ores in the warehouse on the first floor?" "You what a euro?" Ragshu uttered with agitation. "Stop it. We are short on time and you still joke around," Penyal scolded. "I'm in distress right now. I can't unravel these rune diagrams within an hour. I need these jokes to calm myself down." Jack defended himself. Jack then turned to Ragshu. "You, if you want to live, free her," Jack demanded. "I can't," Ragshu replied. "You can't or you won't?" "I can't." Those rune diagrams had been reinforced by the demon mage that should be here with the nightmare. Only she can shut these rune diagrams down. "But since you have killed her, then it is impossible now." Jack didn't kill her. She escaped. But it made no difference for their current situation. He didn't want to waste time explaining. Jack gritted his teeth. Time continued to tick and he was running out of ideas. Should I just try solving the rune diagrams as fast as I can? Jack thought. He did hear that when someone was pushed, that person could perform better than he actually could. He never believed that crap, but perhaps he should give it a try? No, he couldn't take the risk. If Mammon arrived first, they were all fucked. If he stopped midway, Luna and himself were also similarly fucked. Luna had been observing everything ever since Jack came into the hall. She was the same as Pandora. She understood spoken language. She was very happy when she saw her sister, Pandora, came to her rescue. Pandora had been consoling her that everything would be okay. She would be freed soon. But she understood from what she heard just now, things were not so encouraging. She forced herself to stand. Her legs were trembling. The tendrils of light around her continued to sap her strength. Pandora neighed beside her, telling her to not do anything. She should be saving her strength so she could flee once the binding was removed. Jack, who was still thinking hard about what to do, was annoyed when the two nightmares behind him started neighing back and forth. Damn it! Can't you see I'm trying my best here? Jack thought as he looked back at the two nightmares. He thought Pandora and Luna were dissatisfied with his indecision. But after seeing them, the two nightmares looked more like they were arguing about something. Hey! What the hell are they fussing about? Jack asked Penuel. Sayuro, she asked Pandora to take care of her two kids. Penuel answered. Her two kids, Sayuro? What does she mean by that? Stop. No, don't do it. A hasty voice was heard and Jack saw Tenka and Yirin running into the hall followed by Jonathan behind the two. What Sayuro, hey? Didn't I ask you two to hide? Jack yelled at the two satyrs, who ignored him and ran to where the two nightmares were still arguing using their weird horse language. Why the hell do the three of you come up here? Jack asked Jonathan. They insisted on it. They said they just have to make sure for themselves that the nightmare is saved. Jonathan answered. The Duke and the others are still out there fighting the demon soldiers. I was told to accompany this two inside. Humph, Satyr Sayuro. How dare you, lowly creatures, collude with this outworlder? Ragshu said. Arlcard tightened his grip. Shut up, he demanded. Where is the nearest satyr settlement? Algerad asked Zelverath. The nearest one is Pylenus village. A bit over 1 day of travel from here, Zelverath answered. They must be from that village. We will punish them once this is over, Algerad said. The thing that Jack and Yvok feared had happened. If he wanted to save the village, he would have to kill all 3 demons here and make sure that no one outside of this room knew of the satyr's involvement. He saw no problem with Ragshu. The 2 mythical demons were another matter. Ah, Shida Euro. Everything is a mess Euro, Jack cursed. No, please. You cannot do Theta Euro, Jack heard Yirin's pleading voice. She was crying as she talked with Luna. What the hell are they all talking about anyway? Jack asked Penuel again. She knows that she can't be freed before the King of Hell arrives. She wants to sacrifice herself, but she knows that her 2 kids need her essence to grow. So, she asked Pandora, Tenka, and Yirin to make sure that her kids got her essence. Jack frowned. Sacrificing herself? Which meant they failed this rescue mission. He gripped his sword tightly. He wanted to do something to stop Luna from sacrificing herself. But what could he do? He had run out of options. He cursed his powerlessness. The power orb that Soccer had been using had somehow come to Luna's side. Despite looking weak, the resolve on Luna's expression was clear for everyone to see. Pandora, Tenka, and Yirin continued persuading Luna to stop, but there was nothing they could do as well. The light tendrils prevent them from touching Luna. Luna's body, which was devoid of flames a moment ago, suddenly blazed with one that was even more intense than Pandora's. The flame burned fiercely. Traces of the flames slipped past the gaps between the light tendrils and then entered the floating orb. The orb, which was dark red, slowly turned a brighter red. It also grew larger as more and more of Luna's flame flowed into it. After a while, the orb was blazing with fire. Jack had to shade his eyes a bit. It was like looking at a miniature sun. The flames finally stopped going into the orb. Luna was very weak already. Pandora had continuously neighing all the time. She even banged on the light tendrils trying to get to Luna and stopped what she was doing. Luna was now looking at Pandora with gentle eyes. She neighed one last time before bursting into tongues of flames. Penuel was crying. She told Jack what Luna said in her last moment. "Chihiro," she said, "goodbye, sister. I'm glad that I can still see you one last time. I give my last essence to you." While hearing it, Jack saw these last flames from Luna flowed to Pandora, who had been neighing and stomping madly. The flames became a part of her. They converged on her back and slowly sprouted, forming into a pair of fiery wings. As the last of Luna's essence fused with Pandora, Luna's existence ended. Pandora lifted her head and neighed loudly. The neigh this time was as if a beast's roar. Everyone felt their ears hurting. At the same time, everyone's mind was assaulted by a torrent of horrifying visions. Even the 4 mythical grade beings in the room felt their minds slightly shaking. The one affected the most was Ragshu, since he had the lowest grade. When everyone's mind recovered, Pandora had somehow moved in front of Ragshu, who was still being held by Arlcard. Her eyes were burning. She was staring directly into Ragshu's eyes. Ragshu wanted to look away, but he was unable to. The 2 burning orbs of Pandora were like a magnet pulling at him. Then, he saw the most horrifying things that ever existed. No one knew what he saw. They only heard his frantic screaming. Then, the small remaining health point he had left was drained completely. After Pandora drained Ragshu's health point, his body turned to stone. It then cracked and burst apart, turning into dust that fell on the floor. Even the resurrection spell won't bring him back to life anymore. "No, a euro!" both Algerad and Zelverath exclaimed at the same time. But things had happened too fast. The first mind assault from Pandora caused their reactions to slow. By the time they could think properly again, Ragshu was gone already. "Holy! I thought a steed couldn't cause any damage," Jack asked Penuel in his mind. I thought so too, a euro. Perhaps Ragshu was simply close to death. Or the energy from Luna allowed Pandora to cause damage. Or Pandora's emotion drove her to exceed her boundary, euro. I don't know. I am surprised as well. Algerad watched in disbelief the pile of dust that used to be his liege. He then brandished his giant flaming axe. "You, a euro. What have you done? You will pay for this." "Wait!" Zelverath stopped Algerad from rushing forward. Algerad stopped and looked at his partner. "The situation is not advantageous. We should retreat and gather more force before we take revenge," Zelverath said. Zelverath had a cooler head. Additionally, he had fought against Arlcard and he knew he couldn't win. The opponent numbers had also increased. Clashing blindly would just work against them. Algerad was also aware of the situation after the warning. He was upset because he knew for sure they would be punished by Mammon for this failure in protecting the Hell Baron. But if they stayed, they could die. He had only clashed with the Outworlder for a short instant, but he could estimate the Outworlder was also close to a mythical grade combatant. Combined with the other rare elites, they were completely outmanned. "None of you leave a euro," Jack exclaimed. He used Shooting Dash to approach the 2 high demons while casting Lightning Strike. Thoras used Oppressive Wave. Arlcard summoned multiple smaller Dark Lord swords. Zelverath cast a spell that conjured a large fiery pentagram symbol that served as a shield. This pentagram shield absorbed Jack's Lightning Strike and Thera's Oppressive Wave. Algerad spun his flaming axe and destroyed Arlcard's dark swords. Algerad and Zelverath turned around once they defended that first round of assaults. Arlcard was already casting his Perpetual Sword of Death while Jack cast his Perpetual Lightning Judgment. The 2 demons' wings flapped and they shot at high speed toward the windows. Jack's lightning and Arlcard's swords battered their bodies as they flew away. Both had prepared their defenses while they fled. Algerad's skin turned hard and gray like metal, while a mana shield protected Zelverath. The 2 endured the lightning and sword energies before crashing out from the windows. The 2 then flew at high speed away from there. Arlcard was about to give chase when Jack shouted, "Stop! I thought you don't want them to leave?" Arlcard asked. "I'm just bluffing. I would have cast Time Domain if I want to keep them here." Jack said. Problem is, my beast form and Thera's sovereign form are ending. As his words ended, he transformed back into his human form. Thuras also turned back into its quadrupedal form not long after. We can win, but it won't be done in a short time. If they delay us by playing defense, Mammon might arrive before we kill them. We will be finished then. I made the bluff to scare them away so they didn't think of delaying us. What we need to do is escape this place now. Jack sent a mental message to Duke Alfredo and the others who were down there. He then used his king badge to unsummon all his royal agents back to the upworld. He then unsummoned Thuras and Arlcard as well. Arlcard didn't protest. Although he thought it was a pity they didn't kill those mythical demons for the EXP points, he also thought Jack's reasoning was valid. Jack turned to the two satyrs, who were still in grief. We need to leave now, Jack told them. The two understood. They walked silently to the broken windows where the high demons had flown out from. Both of them took out a strange tool that turned into a large hang glider. They then took to the air with these hang gliders. The gliders rode the air with incredible speed. Yvonne was right, those tools were not slower than Pandora's speed. Luckily, those two satyrs brought an extra pair for the journey home. Jack then came to Pandora, who was still standing silently. The power orb filled with her sister's essence was floating beside her. Jack looked at the pile of dust near the nightmare's feet. Some items were there. They were loots dropped from killing Ragshu. Jack picked them up without checking them. Mayame Euro, Jack said to Pandora. I'm sorry, Mayame Euro, I failed you. I'm unable to save your sister Euro. Pandora didn't respond. Mayame Euro, we need to leave now. If you are not in the mood to carry me, I will unsummon you and I will leave on foot. Pandora turned to face the broken windows and grunted. She said, Climb up, Penuel translated. Thank you, ma'am, Jack said and jumped to the nightmare's back. He had to sit slightly more forward than usual due to the new fiery wings on Pandora's back. He wondered if this meant that she could now fly. His question was soon answered. Pandora jumped out the window and stayed afloat in the air. Her fiery wings flapped and she soared higher into the air. The power orb followed after her, matching her speed. Jack had the urge to shout out excitedly, but he remembered Pandora was still grieving, so he restrained himself. He so very much wanted to show this upgraded nightmare to Peidoin though. Now, his steed could also fly like Peidoin's Pegasus. A sudden change in a distant sky made him turn. Pandora also stopped and looked over. Jack saw the cloud in the distant sky turn turbulent. Some ominous green fog seemed to be devouring those dark skies in the distance. He also felt unspeakable dread as he watched the incident. Fuck! Run! We have to run, now a Euro! Jack exclaimed. Anything that could emit pressure from such a large distance was not something he could go up against at his level. Pandora could also feel the power from that ominous green fog. She flapped her wings and then shot forward with incredible speed. Jack felt as if he was riding a fighter jet that went from 0 velocity to full speed in less than a second. He was sure that if no magic glue held his ass on Pandora, he would have been left behind where he was. Not long after they left, the sky above the manor turned fully green. Out of the green fog, a gigantic being descended. His size rivaled the dragon's. On his head were 6 large horns. 2 live wolf heads were on his shoulders. They snarled and looked at everything with eyes full of greed. 2 pairs of enormous bat wings covered his back. The demon's green eyes locked on the manor. His sight pierced through the roof of the mansion and saw the pile of dust that used to be his son. Rarga ha Euro! He roared and swung his massive fist down. The air compressed and the entire mansion collapsed and turned flat with the ground in a matter of seconds. He turned in the direction where Pandora hovered a few minutes ago. He sensed the nightmare's unusual aura, but he couldn't trace where this nightmare had gone to. The scent disappeared midway. Doesn't matter, he thought. Whomever these people who murdered his son, as long as they were in the underworld, he would find them. Pandora's flying speed was even faster than her running speed before she got her wings. Not only that, she zapped in intervals during her flight. Repeated use of this zapping caused Jack vertigo after a while. Jack understood then that Pandora was actually teleporting when the zap happened. further increasing her speed. Unbeknownst to Jack, this repeated teleportation was what allowed Pandora to cover her tracks. Her aura was too strong and she wasn't able to control it from exuding from her body since she had just been upgraded. A powerful devil like Mammon could trace this aura of hers. But due to her constant teleporting, the trace was cut off. Jack also worried that Mammon saw them when he saw the green fog. He directed Pandora to fly in a different direction from Pylenus village. They made turns as they traveled, taking a detour. Even so, they still arrived before Tenka and Yiren, who used the hang gliders. This proved Pandora's speed had increased after the upgrade. Ivok greeted them once they arrived. He was pleasantly surprised by Pandora's transformation, but his emotion took a great fall after Jack informed him of what had happened. Ivok let out a long sigh after Jack finished his report. I guess it can't be helped. At least we got Luna's essence. With that, the little ones can grow into adulthood, Ivok said as he gazed at the power orb floating beside Pandora. There are bigger things to worry about, Jack said. All of you have to leave. You can't stay here anymore. The two high demon bodyguards will surely report about seeing Tenka and Yiren after they meet Mammon. We don't know when the demons will come. You need to be out of here before that happens. We will talk about that after we tend to the little ones. Come, Ivok said, walking to the woods where they hid the small nightmares. Jack wanted to urge Ivok to not delay their departure, but the old satyr didn't seem to be in the mood to discuss. So Jack just followed him into the burning forest. Ivok blew his pipe and they entered the secret dimension where the two little nightmares resided. Pandora went to them with the power orb. Sol and Fyra were excited when they saw their aunt again, but they stopped when they noticed the power orb floating beside her. They could feel their mother's aura from that orb. Pandora then told them what had happened. Jack didn't understand the nightmare's language, but he could see from the three gestures that it was an emotional discourse. Ivok, who stood beside him, sighed and shook his head on repeated occasions. The power orb floated above the two nightmares and started emitting energies that nurtured Sol and Fyra. It was like the orb was alive and knew when Luna's two offspring were nearby. Not long after, Tenka and Yiren came into this dimension. They had another round of emotional discourse. Jack didn't want to disturb them, but he truly thought that they should start packing. So, he said again to Ivok, "You truly need to tell your people to start packing." Ivok gave another long sigh before calling Tenka and Yiren. "We will need to leave," he said to the two. Tenka and Yiren gave apologetic expressions. They knew it was due to their impulses that their village was now in danger. Ivok continued, "But the two little nightmares won't survive if we keep on moving. So we are going to do it like this. We will find a different hiding spot and create another secret dimension to hide the little nightmares there. You two will be staying with them. As for the rest of us, we will move to a different place and then wait for the demons to come." "What do you mean? You should keep on moving. If you stay in one place and the demons find you, they will kill you all," Jack said. "Then so it shall be," Ivok said. "Father a euro," Yiren called, but Ivok stopped her by lifting his hand at her. Ivok said, "The two of you are these little ones' main custodians, so you have to stay with them. As for the rest of us, it's fine. You don't need to worry about anything. As long as we ensure the two little nightmares survived, everything is worth it." "You don't mean a euro, are you going to intentionally let the demons find you and sacrifice your whole village?" Jack asked with disbelief. Ivok sighed. "This is the only way. If we keep on running, Mammon will keep on searching. We can't constantly move the nightmares around. But if we leave them, Mammon's persistent search might stumble onto their hiding place. Mammon needs an outlet for his anger. We will give him that. Once he is done with us, he won't bother searching anymore. The little nightmares will be safe. Then we should be the sacrifices," Tenka exclaimed. "Ragshu's bodyguards saw us. Yiren and I are their main targets. We will let them get us. You and the villagers keep these nightmares safe. It is because of your impulse that we are in this mess. So, for once, listen to me," Ivok chided. "You two are Sol and Fyra's main custodians. Their connection to you is not something that other satyrs can replicate. They needed you, so the two of you will hide with them, and that will be it. Tenka and Yiren wanted to argue further, but they could see their father's decision was made. Jack understood that just as how Luna sacrificed herself for her children, Yvonne was doing the same. He again cursed his powerlessness for not being able to do better for them. If only Pandora can bring passengers back to the Upworld Euro, Jack muttered. When Jack was still lamenting, he found Pandora in front of her. Penuel said to Jack. She asked, "What do you mean by bringing passengers to the Upworld?" "Uhayuro, I mean that if she can, perhaps we can bring these nightmares and satyrs one by one to the Upworld. Mammon can't break through the planes between the worlds, right? That way they will be safe." Pandora turned to Penuel and spoke some nightmare languages. Penuel then translated. She said, she couldn't bring everyone to the Upworld, but at this current moment, she could bring the 2 little nightmares and 2 satyrs for one trip. "She can do that?" Jack asked. Yvonne heard Pandora's words directly. He was now conversing with her. After they were done talking, Yvonne explained to Jack, "The energy that Luna transferred to Pandora is a lot. She can't digest all that energy. With Luna's power orb, she can channel this excess energy to connect with Soul and Fyra, and for a moment, renders their abilities as if they are adult nightmares. This way, they can bring 2 satyrs as if these satyrs are their riders and travel to the Upworld. This can only be done once though. After that, Luna's excessive energy within her will be used up. And if the nightmares are safe in the Upworld, you can continue fleeing to avoid the demons," Jack said. "That will be a tiring ordeal to be done for life. But yes, we can do that," Yvonne said. "Father, you are a more experienced custodian. You should be the one to go with the little nightmares," Yiren said. "No," Yvonne replied. "As I said, the 2 of you are their main custodians. You 2 have to stay with the nightmares. I know you are worried about me. You don't need to. Before becoming custodians, we satyrs are a nomadic race. We have no problem living while continuously wandering." "Well, whatever your decision, we need to do it fast," Jack said. "The demons could come any minute now." Yvonne nodded. "I will go inform the others. We should be able to leave by today." The elder satyr left then. Jack saw him more spirited now that there was a way out for both him and his children. Even though Jack thought Yvonne was still sad since this meant he couldn't see his children anymore. While waiting, Jack checked the loots Ragshu had dropped. That Hell Baron was only a special elite, so he didn't have much hope. Additionally, he didn't use his runestone of luck. Pandora's action had been so swift and unexpected that he didn't know that Ragshu was going to die. As expected, there were only 3 items. A pile of coins, a pile of mana cores, and 1 small item that his monocle marked as a super rare grade. Jack used his inspect. Level down pill, super rare consumables. Reduce 1 level, huh? What's the point of this item? Jack asked after reading the description. Who wants to reduce his level? This is a very useful item. This pill only drops in the underworld, Penuel replied. How is this useful? If it only reduces a level, then yes, it is counterproductive. But what if I told you that the increased stats and the skill points you got from the previous level up remain the same? That means I can get a bonus level up, Jack said as he made a realization. Bingo, Penuel remarked. You need to note also that every class had a limit of level 99. After that, you will not receive another level up no matter how many EXP points you collected. This level down pill allows you to have extra level ups more than the standard 98 times. Great! Jack stored the pill in his inventory. He would give it to Jeannie first for safekeeping and for her to make a copy when she had spare mana cores. Jack then took out the lockbox he had stolen from Ragshu's warehouse. He asked Penuel, this is a legendary grade, so the items it drops should be legendary grade as well, right? Not necessarily, but legendary grade treasure chests and lockboxes do have the highest probability to yield a legendary item. It depends on luck. Hee. Then we both know that getting one is a certainty, don't we? Jack grinned. You should know that lockboxes only produce 1 or 2 items at most. Don't expect to get a bunch of items like you did when you opened a treasure chest. 1 legendary item is already better than a bunch of non-legendary items, Jack commented as he took out his enduring lockpicks. Penuel wanted to slap him and reminded him that getting a legendary item from this lockbox was not a sure deal, but she didn't because it would just be like talking to a brick wall. Jack proceeded to use regular lockpicks after exhausting the usage of his enduring lockpicks. Since it was a legendary grade, his failure rate was also astronomical. Luckily, he had prepared tons of lockpicks, so he could try lots and lots of times. He also summoned his runestone of probability to enhance his success chance. He was too focused on doing the lockpicking that he was not aware of the passage of time. It took almost half a day and he nearly used up his stockpile of lockpicks before he heard the successful click. He wasn't truly worried about running out of lockpicks. He could bring this lockbox away so he could just buy more lockpicks and continue lockpicking it another time. Both his lockpicking and runecrafting skills leveled up during the process. His lockpicking was now at advanced expert, while his runecrafting increased to basic master. Jack didn't forget to use his runestone of luck when he heard the successful click from the lockbox. The lid opened and released dazzling light similar to the visual effect when one opened a treasure chest. Once the light dissipated, Jack saw only one item inside the lockbox. Even though there was only one small stone inside, Jack was ecstatic. This was because his monocle marked that item with purple color. He wondered then if it was possible to get equipment from a lockbox. A lockbox seemed too tiny to hold something as large as a weapon or armor. Penuel later informed him that it was possible. The equipment would simply be thrown out of the lockbox when it was opened. Jack didn't question the logic in that. Jack picked up the tiny stone from the lockbox and used his inspect. Portal closing stone, legendary consumable, main quest. Close the portal to the underworld. Main quest €? Jack turned to Penuel. What does this mean? I don't know €, Penuel replied. If this was a regular game, then Jack knew what a main quest was. It was the goal that every player who played the game had to complete to achieve the final victory in the game. Now that he saw this term, it made him think. Considering this world was based on a game, there should be a main quest which should have automatically triggered for every player. But after going through a year in this game world, he never encountered what looked like a main quest. The most epic quest he got was the Kingdom Chain quest that ended up putting him as a king, but that was not the main quest. A main quest spanned globally and affected the whole game. The underworld, he thought. Can the main quest of this game world have something to do with this underworld? Then why doesn't everyone get a quest that connects to this place?